Their intention was to subvert the SNP. This is sensible, isn't it? Their intention was to subvert the SNP. This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job. What? This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing.
He's had to mute himself because he can't stop laughing in between.
I'm actually not laughing.
This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job. What?
It resonates greatly within me.
This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing.
He's had to mute himself because he can't stop laughing in between.
I'm actually not laughing. It resonates greatly within me.
This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing. It resonates greatly within me.
He's doing a pretty good job.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Oh, fuck. I tried to start with muted mic. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along. I normally would go through the chat at this point, but because I've got guests on, I don't do that, but I will be flashing your messages up on the screen. And we're going to start with saying a very warm welcome to my two guests, Sansa Communion and DJ Resisting the Lies. Sansa, what about you, chum?
Hello, mate. How are you doing? And I hope everybody in the chat's well. I hope you're getting over your bit of a sniffle from the last few weeks, which seems a hell of a lot worse than this sniffle, put it that way. I hope you're doing well, and I hope DJ's doing well, because obviously, you know, prima donna that he is, couldn't make my stream tonight, fobbed me off. He says, I'm certain you'll find some Z-rate celebrities to come on instead. So
To be fair, though, you have the second best Scotsman in town, so you know. No, I'm living quietly.
So that puts you third, then, doesn't it? Because you got Scott's Arm and no chance, and then you, innit?
Well, Scots can't now. Fucking Scots Army might as well be Mongolian now, like, because he's not about. You know, it's me now. I'm the top dog around here.
DJ has inherited the slot as the top man.
I'm in hiding now. I've got a madman in my case. Like every fucking day when I turn on my YouTube or my Twitter, I've got notifications from this total Mongo. I'm not going to say his name, but inevitably he will probably watch this back at some point. If you are watching, hiya pal. He seems to have it in his head that I don't know his name, by the way. I don't know his real name. I don't know where he lives. I don't know fuck all about him. All I know is him as a YouTube avatar and a Twitter avatar. But he's got it into his head that I've grassed him up to the police, put him in the jail allegedly for a few months, and now he's gunning for me. Yeah? I don't know fucking anything about him. It's just ridiculous. But so I'm just quivering in my boots right now. He was calling me a fat incel last night on Twitter. I'm apparently an overweight incel, so he clearly doesn't have his facts straight, given the fact that I'm 6'3" and I should have fucking fat, but you know, I'll let him live with that. That's what makes him feel better. So now I have to say my masculinity is a bit tainted right now. I'm quite scared.
This is current community at work.
No, it's a fucking guy. He used to be in the stream charts back in the day when I used to stream with Scots Arm and that, but he disappeared about 4 or 5 months ago in like October, September time. And then he's come back and he's accusing me of fucking reporting.
DJ, was he eating a lot of porridge in that 4 or 5 months? You don't know what I mean by that, eating porridge?
I just thought you were calling full of shit.
No, it's an old adage when, because that was a television program as well by the same name. They used to say, he's been away for a bit, he's been eating porridge.
I don't know. Fucking, I mean, I've been accused of some shit in my time, but never that. Like, anyway.
Right.
All quiet on the Western Front, apart from that, like.
I'm going to whittle through a little bit of housekeeping. a big welcome to anyone that has came along from Sansom stream earlier this evening. If you are here and you were not at Sansom stream earlier, if you enjoy my stuff, you will like the streams that he does on Saturday night previous to this. So get yourselves along that in future. Rags is streaming tomorrow evening. He's on the chat there. You can stick in the time for us, and he's got a guest on, John Palmer, I believe. That's who it is. So that'll be a good show. And the other one to look out for that we'll give a shout out to is John Davison, who streams every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 p.m., which are good streams. So get yourselves along them if you don't already. And anybody that's here that isn't already subscribed, do us a favor and press that wee button. Hit the like. Apparently, it does something for the algorithm. Don't know.
And if you don't, I'll phone the police on you.
Yeah. Yes, we've got a grass on, so if you don't, we are going to grass you all up. So that's sort of like. Any other opening comments from Sansom or DJ?
No, not really. I mean, Scotland's been a battle last this week, let's be honest. I mean, I could have fundamentally done a stream all by myself, but just rattle through the absolute shit show that has been the last week with that gender bender bill. But it's remarkable how, like, watching it transpire, like, the only people that are in favour of it are, like, total crackpots. Like, the protest that took place last Saturday in Glasgow. There was, like, one video. There's this trans guy who claims to be it's a woman who claims to be a man now. And he's going on about how this bill would have made it easier for people like them to feel accepted because he had to hide it from his son for so long that he was trans. And then when he finally came out to his son, when he plucked up the courage, his son accepted it. But it gets better. The clip's on my channel, like on Telegram. About a year later, his son came out as trans too. Oh, wow. Oh, why am I shocked? But this is the caliber of people who are in favour of this bill. You know, I know what side of the fence I fucking sit on, and it sure as hell ain't with that women with bowl cuts. And men with no dicks.
DJ, that bloke you on well, what does it have? Is it a bloke or I can never remember now?
I think it was a guy. No, it was a lash and a guy.
Human weeble. Do you remember them? Weebles. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. That was a human weeble. You know, you just look at the dysgenics and these people that occupy those spaces, you know. I think they're doing
all the programs as well in Scotland throughout the week. Like you've got like same as ITV, but you've got STV Tonight, or you've got like there's this program on at 7 o'clock on BBC One, on BBC Scotland. Sorry, it's called The Seven because it starts at 7. I know, very cool. But like they're like total bog ugly trannies. I want to like argue the cause. I'm like just take one look at them and be like, well, I don't really want to take any you say seriously, you know.
Well, they're
talking about how this piece of paper would have made their life so much easier, and I'm sat there thinking, well, on the one hand, they're trying to play this down and make out that people like myself or whomever else are blowing this way out of proportion. It's a simple process, right? Well, if that's the case, then explain to me why this simple process, this simple piece of paper where they can change their gender just like that, the click of a finger, this will apparently change their life. A piece of paper. If it's just a simple process, then surely the fuck your life shouldn't be so dependent on a simple process. So which one is that?
Right. I've actually got a news article put it up about this.
That's to do with when the Supreme Court ruled out her independence shit.
Right.
I actually fundamentally I agree with that article. I posted up on Telegram at the time.
Right, I thought it was the court ruling about the trans bill. Sorry,
no, it's not.
I'll take that one back out.
But no, I posted that article a few months ago. I agree with pretty much everything that was said. I know I'm in the minority in that respect.
My understanding of this new trans bill was that you could change your gender without any medical intervention, without any medical approval from 16, and it reduced the amount of time you had to live. 3 months or something. Basically, you could somebody born male could declare themselves female, do nothing about it, and then inhabit female-only spaces.
Yeah,
Oh,
pretty much.
on an interesting side note, a friend of mine and myself many years ago were strongly considering turning up at a donkey sanctuary in a donkey costume, like the pantomime one, to ask for sanctuary. And it was to highlight the fact that there are no shelters for male victims of domestic abuse. But it seems now you just have to wait 3 months. And one of those plans in Scotland, you just have to wait 3 months and rock up at Women's Aid.
Yeah. I mean, they've removed funding. I mean, they are talking about putting funding back into it, but there's this program in Scotland. It's called like the Men's Shed. It's just a place for like men that have got depression and that to come and go. It's kind of like just a club really for men. But they removed the funding for it, and they ran up to the budget. And obviously, like they would never have done that if it was some sort of thing that was designated for women. So I was just thinking to myself there that had they not announced that they were going to refund it again, you would have probably seen the odd man decide to change gender so he could get some fucking help.
Edmund had put up a question: do trans Ukrainian men have to fight? It turned out that how they dealt with that was if you were post operation, you didn't have to fight. If you were pre-operation, they decided you were a man and you were not allowed to leave the country between 16 and 60, and you were to go to the army unless you were some form of a sports star
Or black.
Some form of a sports star, musical entertainer, actor, all those people. Somehow the requirements didn't affect those. It's mad. Well, with that, do you want to go more into that, or will we go to the one we're going to do first, which was yes, the mass education discriminates against queer trans students.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, I'll get that one up now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is now. I'm sure you're all pretty much aware that we did actually think that maths was racist and possibly sexist, but now it's actually the people that it's discriminated against are queer trans students, as argued by a professor.
You know, it's funny though, because there's some anti-racists that like to try and mic drop white people and go, well, you didn't even create maths, actually. Ancient Pakistanis did. Well, if that's the fucking case, then how's maths racist? Because I thought only anything we created was racist. Well, clearly this professor isn't as educated as the anti-racists in Scotland. So,
yeah.
Get it up.
Oh, you keep on hearing that our numerals, the way our numerals are written, was something came from the Arabs and was about the amount of angles and shit like that.
Yeah.
But apparently but we're also simultaneously told it's racist. I really don't. I don't get it. Don't understand it.
Every time we exhale, it's fucking racist.
Yeah. So, a Vanderbilt professor argued that mass is a white, cis, heterospherical space during a mathematics conference held in Boston, Massachusetts earlier that month. See that?
Wait. Cis heteropatriarchal space, I'll have you know.
Yep. Look,
I need a degree just to read the fucking thing. Never mind.
Look, I've got dyslexia. I'm pretty okay with most of the words that have been around for a while.
I was just trying to read that myself, and I noticed it said patriarchy at the end.
Yeah, it's look. I have a distinct problem with words that were only invented 5 minutes ago.
Fair point.
It's- I don't know how. And the other thing I'll say is this CIS bit at the start, CIS, which stands for comfortable in skin.
Mhm.
Right?
Is that actually what it stands for?
Yeah, comfortable in skin. It means that
Normal.
your brain, your body parts, and your sexuality are all in line with one another, so therefore you're comfortable within your skin.
AKA you're just normal.
Right? Yes, you're a normal person. Now, I'll tell you what I do know. I never got the form. I never got the ballot or anything where I was asked if it was okay to go from being a male person to a cis male person.
Well,
This
sure,
is
you could probably
something.
sue the NHS for that one. Like,
Yeah, but this is something a bunch of fucking wingnuts went into a corner on their own, come up with, and then applied to the population. And for people that are all worried about having their correct labels, they never asked us if we were okay with the label that were applying to us.
it's a fair point. You think it would dawn on them at some point that like nobody in the entirety of the population believes the shit that they believe? The only people that believe it are the people that were on the same course as them at university. You think it might twig that there's a problem here? Maybe it's me that's the problem and not the population.
Yep. They would tell you the problem is that we're not educated.
No.
Well, also I would say is that, in a world of equality, surely all these terms and acronyms are anti-dyslexic because they look like something a dyslexic would fucking write.
I tell you better than that. The word dyslexic is fucking anti-dyslexic. I don't know why that has to be such a long fucking word.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I don't know how to spell that.
You want to try being unable to spell, be handed a form unexpectedly, and you have to put your disabilities down, and you're starting to try to write dyslexia on it. You end up with about fucking 6 words with a line through it, and then can't spell.
Fucking hell. I mean, I do know kind of how you feel because I've got the numerical equivalent of that, dyscalculia,
Yep.
and I can't spell that either. That's even worse.
Right. Yep. And bear in mind, it's not so bad now where everybody has a mobile phone. I dealt with most of my problems with forms and shit in my late teens, early 20s, when there was no such thing as a phone. Oh, and then people tell you, look it up in a dictionary. Do you know what? Dictionaries are only good if you already know how to spell the word. Because if you get the second or third letter wrong, you search for fucking hours. and the other thing that we kept on getting told as kids was, yeah, get your child Scrabble, get them to play Scrabble. Fuck off. All that does is cause 2 hours of frustration whenever you've got 9 letters in front of you that you think makes a word but doesn't. Oh, fuck. Right.
Suppose you'd be all right until you came across a word that had like a silent letter in it or something, and then you're fucked.
Oh no, mate! The amount of times I wrote lick instead of like is off the charts.
Jesus.
Yep. I would have spent 2 hours at night learning my 10 spellings in primary school, and by the end of 2 hours, I would be able to do them correctly. But I wake up the next morning and I get the right letters in the wrong order.
I'm exactly the same with maths. So I've said this before on streams, but for anybody that's not aware, I'm that bad that if you give me like 6 or 7 20p coins and I count them out in my hand, I will get 120 one time, 150 the next time. Don't ask me how I get a 50 when that's an odd number. Then I'll get 160, £1, 80p. I can't count. Like, it's not because I'm a retard. It's because I've got the numerical equivalent of dyslexia. Maths in school for me was absolute torture. Fucking torture.
It's a duck makes a good point. Countdown is less hassle. I'll tell you what, mate. See that countdown conundrum, the one at the end where all the letters make a word. Round about 50% of the time, whenever I flick down, I could just read it because it had the right letters, and if they were in any way close enough to the right number, I seen the word. It's good for that.
No, Countdown was one of those shows whenever I watched it out of boredom, I realised how fucking retarded I actually am. And I thought it was quite intelligent. What can you do?
Yep. Right. I'm going to attempt to continue to read this now. Louis Leva, an assistant professor of mathematics education at Vanderbilt University's Peabody College, delivered a lecture titled Undergraduate Mathematics Education is a White, Cis Heteropatriarchal Space and Opportunities for Structural Disruption to Advance Queer of Color Justice.
What a fucking soy boy.
What a fucking title. On January 4th, as part of a joint mathematics meeting, according to the website, Leva argued that the mathematics field is predominantly white and heterosexual and limits opportunities for queer and trans students. The lecture was given in two parts. Leva first discussed his research conducted by examining the educational experience of 39 undergraduates. That's a hell of a sample size. Students majoring in STEM fields who identified as queer or trans, and then he used his research to explain how the mathematics field operates as a white, cis, heteropatriarchal space that limits learning opportunities, affirming queer of color identities and experiences.
Oh.
I think this has probably got through some of the fact that mathematics has to be correct. You can't bullshit 2 plus 2 unless you're the New World Order. Grateful to be distinguished with the opportunity to deliver the Spectra at LGBT Lavender Lecture in 2023. Majors in Boston tomorrow. I will deliver a lecture based on my research integrating undergraduate math education's white. His study depicted how Black, Latin, Asian, QT, queer, trans students' narrative of experiences reflects forms of intersectionality or instances of oppression and resistance by intersecting systems of white supremacy, that long word, or white, that long word, according to the abstract. He further used his analytical framework about how STEM education serves a white, cis, heteropatriarchal space to show intersectional oppression, impacts of or trans students of color through ideological, institutional, and relational influences. He seems to like saying those words a lot of times as if it would put people into some form of a trance.
Well, I think I know why he keeps mentioning that, actually, because I was looking him up there while you were talking. He was named in 2022 the LGBTQ plus Educator of the Year. Oh my God, and he looks like a right gimp.
Yeah. Leva also addressed coping strategies among QT students of color navigating white in STEM for protecting their academic success and intersectional identities. The abstract read, his lecture concluded by laying out reimagined mathematics education, which increases support for queer and trans students of color. The joint mathematics meeting are a partnership of 15 maths organizations. Each partner provides presentations, panels, mini courses, or other programming to gather. Scott Turner, Director of Communications for the American Mathematical Society, told the Daily Caller News Foundation, each partner provides presentations, panels, mini courses, and other programming to be gathered. He said that the lecture was sponsored by Spectra, the Associate for LGBT Mathematics, which was one of the partners. The American Mathematical Society is committed to promoting and facilitating equality, diversity, and inclusion throughout the mathematics sciences. Its statement on equity, diversity, and inclusion, which was shared with the DNCF, reads, for its own long-term prosperity, as well as that of the public at large, our discipline must connect with and appropriately incorporate all sectors of society. Leva and Vanderbilt University did not immediately respond to Daily Caller Foundation's request for a comment. This is fucking mad.
Let me share this. I'm reading this shit for him. Fuck this guy. Wait a minute. Share screen. Fuck it now. There we go. Chrome tab. This one. There we go. Tell me when you can see this shit.
Right, it's up now. Right. Do you want me to add this?
Right.
Yep.
Wait. So he's the LGBTQ plus educator of the year for 2022, according to Out to Innovate. But I was just going through this article a bit. Like, he's an assistant professor in mathematics, yada yada yada. But his significant impact on STEM students through teaching, counselling, advocacy, and role modelling earned him the award from Out to Innovate, a professional society for LGBTQ plus people working in science, technology, mathematics, and engineering, formerly known as the National Organization of Gay and Lesbian Scientists. Okay, but wait, this bit down here. He came to Vanderbilt in 2016. He's the director of the PRISM Power, Resistance, and Identity in STEM Education Research Lab. The lab's research holds an intersectional prism up to historically marginalized populations' narratives of experience to both illuminate and disrupt multidimensional forms of oppression in undergraduate STEM education. He's a member of the LGBT Policy Lab, one of 6 interdisciplinary programs awarded funding from the university's Trans-Institutional Programs Initiative for 2020. He served for multiple years as the faculty facilitator for Latin Q, an affinity group through the Office of LGBTQI Life at Vanderbilt that brings together queer Latinx members of the university community to share resources, build community, and further explore intersectional identities. And there was just one last bit down here, I think. It says he also conducts research examining issues of racial and gender equity in classroom instruction to disrupt the role of undergraduate calculus as a gatekeeper to STEM majors for historically marginalized student populations. Like it wouldn't be such a big deal if it was just a one-off occasion or a one-off, an anomaly, a total fucking whack job. But the reality of the matter is, it's just one fucking, I would argue, maybe millions at this point, all across the West. They're everywhere. These absolute crackpots.
This is why people come out of university stupider than they went in.
Alright. You go there to do maths and instead you learn about intersectionality and gender fucking equity.
There needs to be some, I don't know, a group, maybe possibly like Ofsted, that regulates education and makes sure that people study the subject they're supposed to be studying, and it doesn't get bastardized and diluted.
I think the reason that'll never happen, though, is because there is, without question, some truth to the saying that the long march to the institution, or the slow march to the institution, even, that's definitely taken place. So ideally, there should be things like that in place, but every single aspect of academia is riddled with these people now.
And let's not forget the media, because you do realise that the Vanderbilt, in other words, that came from the Vanderbilt Fortune, one of the Yanks' top lamestream media presenters is some bloke. He is. You're probably too young, DJ, to know, but I bet 42 remembers. You remember the Anderson Studios, the puppet animation like Thunderbirds and that. Do you remember Joe
Yes.
90?
Yes, Joe 90, Thunderbirds. Actually, I
Captain
think
Scarlet.
that. Yep, I think that Jordan Henderson plays for Liverpool and England walks about like a Thunderbirds puppet.
Well, all I'll say is this: Joe 90, right? If you look at I think I can't remember if it's CNBC or ABC or something like that. One of them is a bloke called Anderson Cooper. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Oh, Anderson Vanderbilt was his real name, though, was it not?
Yeah. He's the living spitting image of Joe 90. And if you don't believe me, just literally put Anderson Cooper in your search bar and then put Joe 90 in. It's the same fucking person, right?
Yeah.
He is of Vanderbilt portions, and yes, he is also part of that particular alphabet monstrosity community.
Yeah.
And the premise of Joe 90 was he went into this machine, sat on it, it spun around, and it implanted the knowledge that was required.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, you're right. I just looked at
brain
that.
harvesting.
Yep. He was a normal person in every way, apart from he had this machine which could implant whatever knowledge he needed for that particular task.
Fuck.
Yep. So that was another thing. Did you? I mean, just going slightly off tangent there, but did you see those evil demons not last week, but the week before at Davos, where they were talking about mind control, but they called it some like brain harvesting or brain activity monitoring or something like that, and it was like mind control. You're talking about mind control, you fuckers. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
There's the one where it's like there's this woman and she goes, yeah, and imagine that you're sitting at your desk and like all of a sudden you look up and you see your colleague from another pod and you get quite attracted to them, but then you think, oh, your mind's not focused on your work and your boss is reading your mind telegrams and she'll realize and it's forbidden that you should have relationships in the office. I'm like, and this and they're trying to portray this because it's got like the happy diddly dee like music going on in the background, and this is supposed to be a good thing,
Yeah.
How much demon can you be?
Yeah, this is the upside of their plans.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. It's quite chilling actually. Like I say,
Oh, did you hear about the on a slightly similar thing? We're still on love a tangent. Did you hear about the Chinese army's plans for their helmets?
No.
Explosives inside the helmet so that the soldier could self-destruct if he was going to get taken prisoner or some shit like that.
Well, that's not just straight out of fucking Lemmings, is it? Jesus.
Yep. Oh, but here's the thing. But I think their commander on the field's got to access that button as well. So don't you be thinking about running back away.
Are you taking the pictures?
I'll tell you what. No, I'll tell you something now. I wouldn't put it past them. But if that was the case, the first thing I'd do is run straight up to my CO and be hugging him all the time. Go on, press the fucking button now. Press the fucking button now, you fucker. Go on, press it. Dare you. Absolutely. It's just hideous. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't carry water for the Chinese state, but, I consider ordinary people, whether they're Chinese, Russian, American, as ordinary, decent people, but their administrations are just horrendous, aren't they? They're the worst in the world. They literally are. The world is run by a kakistocracy. They're the worst people in the world.
Yeah. The worst thing, DJ, is I'm not even just making that up. Nah, I don't think it's fully implemented as yet. I do know that all their train drivers, all their police have got, and all their army have got brain monitoring equipment in their headwear.
Wow. Meanwhile, we've got chest binders here.
Yeah.
Every soldier, every Marine, every fucking Navy SEAL, irrespective of what sex they are, is equipped
Yeah,
with
well,
chest binder.
well, you're just a denier, mate, because every Air Force needs pregnancy flight suits.
Fucking hell. The concept of war, do you know that it's so black-pilled nowadays? The concept of war doesn't even fucking remotely unnerve me. Not only does Britain, for example, have a piss-poor amount of an army left at this point, but the army that we do have is to take a term from the mainstream media. It's woke. It's just gay shit. You really think the Russians or the Chinese are remotely quaking in their boots when they get told off by Britain? Oh, you don't stop that, we'll be coming for you. What a bunch of fucking testosterone deprived men. No offense to any lads watching it in the army, but like the army seems to be more focused on jet finders and equality nowadays. And it is about anything. I mean, all you do is look at like all the promotional videos and that, like the Russian fucking promotional videos, pure chaddery. And we've got like the British one, like, hey, have you ever considered joining the army? We have prayer room. We also have a room for you and your sergeant to pack.
But the thing is, right, they talk about, they say, in the theatre of war. It's like, nowadays, it's the pantomime of war, isn't it?
Fucking hell, I just pictured it now. Just like some fucking very effeminate sergeant trying to order you. Like, I want you to charge on my go. Oh, fuck off, you boy. Do what I want.
The problem is, for about the last 10 years, the people in charge of our side have went with a pantomime of an army, and the people who aren't on our side have not. And whenever those two things meet, it's not going to be good for us.
No, and then they had that campaign as well, like the mid-teens, the mid-20-teens, like 2015, 2016 type, where they had that campaign where they were trying to rid the army of the far right, aka like the only patriotic fucking soldiers you have left, get them out, replace them with a gay black trans guy, fucking state of the world, man. I sometimes just pray a fucking nuke drops on us. I mean, then we've got Sturgeon, we've got Scotland. Once upon a time, Robert the Bruce, William Wallace, they were a feminist nation with a feminist foreign policy. The fucking, the Highland regiments of old that used to get sent in to do all Britain's dirty work because they were fucking ballsy, they're gone. Now it's just a bunch of queer hawks. Non-binary Highlanders, the non-binary Highland regiment, send them in, they'll sort everyone out. Better not get caught now, because if you do, you're getting banned.
Well, the Black Watch is going to have a whole new meaning.
Like, I mean, I've not talked about this before, but if you watch any of the clips of these fucking reprobates in that Scottish Parliament talking about our feminist foreign policy, I've heard some stupid nonsense from politicians in Scotland and across the world for that matter. But that shit, where they actually literally fucking say, that our feminist foreign policy will prioritise tackling racism and male domination across the world. Are you taking the fucking piss? While simultaneously Sturgeon at the same, maybe about a year before that, came out openly to all the press and said that Scotland had lost its macho image and was now a feminist nation. Like, what the fuck? I mean, what the fuck? They were just a joke. People used to laugh at Sweden and Canada for how cuck they were. Well, step aside, lads. Hold my fucking sound.
Hold on a minute. DJ, mate, she was only talking about Inverness.
Fuck off. No, honestly.
And don't forget, before you go into the enemy lines, make sure you've got your cherry chapstick before you go.
More Glasgow, really, and Edinburgh that are the problem. I'll have you know. Like, Inverness, for the time being, still resembles what you would assume Scotland to be like. Shitty weather and full of grumpy Scots. Down in Glasgow, if you're not swamped by babes, you're seeing gay Glaswegian men. It sounds like Scots armour on fucking helium.
Yeah, you know, there's something to be said for curmudgeony, isn't there? And that's I think that's a great defense against all of this woke bullshit. We need more curmudgeonly old bastards like me. That's what we need.
Aye, we do. Fuck. But
Yeah.
aye, just talk
I
that, boys. You won't talk that tonight, I'm telling you. Tackling male domination, you know?
right. I think we're going to change the subject and head on to our next subject. See what you make of this. Quite interesting. You've noticed that all the environmentalists seem to be allowed to have their protests wherever they want, whenever they want, clog up shops, sit in front of the throw milk around waitrose and stuff like that. Well, it seems there is a line. A marine biologist was dragged out of a seafood restaurant and arrested following David Attenborough encounter.
I wish that prick would fucking hurry up and have a Moderna, like.
Yeah, but a climate protester was forcibly removed from an upmarket Weymouth seafood restaurant after attempting to speak with Sir David Attenborough as he dined. Marine biologist Emma Smart was reportedly dragged out of Cachio Fish Market on November 17th. She had been trying to engage Attenborough in a discussion about the climate crisis. She also wanted to ask him to use his platform to call for vital food system changes. Video footage of Smart being removed shows her shouting, "David, I'm a scientist. David, please." Moments later, while face down on the pavement and being handcuffed, she stated she was taking action for the future of her children.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, Smart is an animal rebellion activist attempting to pass a letter to Attenborough. In it, she asked him to meet with her for 5 minutes for all life on the earth. What I'm finding interesting is the line seems to be if you piss off the establishment, they're pretty quick at arresting you. But if it's just ordinary working class people trying to do their fucking shopping, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. I mean, all you need to do is look at all the, even Animal Rebellion or Extinction Rebellion or whatever other rebellion, like they were allowed to do as they pleased for days and weeks on end.
Yeah.
Without the police really intervening at all. But yet you go after Big Bad Davy Boy, and oh well, even if you just want to talk for 5 minutes, that's well, you can't be doing that. Like,
Yeah. Weymouth on the English Channel coast of England is thought to be at significant risk of sea level changes as a result of the climate emergency. Food risks have increased to the point where Smart predicts that the town will be largely uninsurable in coming years. Here,
issues with food that weren't an issue until all the shit started with Russia.
right, but here's another thing. Call me skeptical, but I think if the sea level rises an inch in one place, it's got to level rise an inch somewhere else. It's got to rise at the same amount all around because it's all interconnected water, right?
Yeah.
Right. So how could it just be going to rise an inch in her place and nowhere else?
And how come it's not happened yet after constant decades of being told it's going to happen?
Yeah. Apparently, parts of Manhattan were supposed to be underwater as by 2018.
Yeah.
Still look pretty dry.
You know, they've been saying it for years. Fucking years. I mean, even today when I was clipping stuff in the Scottish Parliament, they were on about they've got some new thing now. They've got something for the islands, and it's to tackle the climate crisis. And then but it's like the total over dramatized fear porn making out. And again, it's always in the wording. These thick prats, though, they don't really understand what they're talking about because they pretend to be climatologists, but all they're doing is reading scripts. But anyway, the point is, this fucking half-wit plank sat there talking about it, and she said that if we don't implement these changes, these imperative changes, then we could see our island communities swamped in the future. And then she said, due to predictions, there's predictions that say that this could be the case. All computer models, that never come to fruition. It's funny that.
These are the predictions that had them put up signs on Glacier National Park in Colorado that the glacier would be disappeared by 2020, and then some poor person had to go up the glacier taking all those signs down because it was still there and the signs were making them look stupid.
And at no point does it ever seem to sink in for a lot of these people. The one person, I know they're all liars, but one person I can just not get my head around how he is still able to walk about and berate us all for our inaction is Al Gore. Like, how has that man got any credibility left whatsoever when he ran a presidential campaign on the back of fabricated shit? He released some stupid documentary that turned out to be a load of bollocks. He's made billions, if not millions, if not billions, on the back of the climate crisis, etc. And yet he still stands there at Davos or at the WEF or at United Nations seminars to talk about the climate catastrophe, and he's saying the same shit, more or less, just a bit more extreme now than he was when he made his stupid documentary. And yet nothing from his documentary ever came to fruition, and nothing that he's saying now will come to fruition. But yet he's still flown about the place and presented as if he's some intellectual fucking powerhouse on the matter when he's full of shit. I don't get it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a total insult to everybody's intelligence, surely.
Right. Here's where I think this is linked to all the trans bullshit. Right?
Go on.
This thing where we don't know whether a boy's a boy or a girl, and they're pushing for having no gender put on a birth certificate until the child figures out what it is whenever they're probably 10 or some shit like that, right?
All right.
Goes totally against the science. Goes against the biology. Now, if they can get a bunch of scientists to lie about that, and then they have another bunch of scientists that are lying about the climate, because it's clearly not getting warmer. The people in those Scottish Islands are not getting suntans in any natural way. If other scientists that have already stated that the blank slate boy-girl thing is, they've discredited themselves with that, they can't complain about the other stuff, because they'll just go, you were lying in the other case. And then all the climate ones, they're if they try to say the biology thing, call it the biology one, here, hold on, but you're bullshitting about the climate. And I'm sure there's other bits and pieces that I haven't caught up on. So all the scientists, all the medical profession have at some stage, all of academia at some stage, have bent the knee to something that they knew wasn't factually correct. And because of that, they can't question anything else.
No, aye. I think when it comes to scientists, though, a lot of them, obviously money talks, but a lot of them are reliant on grants and whatnot for them to continue the research. So if their funding gets stopped, then they're effectively out of a job. But main problem with all this shit, whether it's the tranny shit, whether it's the race shit, or whether it's climate, is these are not issues that are, like, put politics aside, right wing or left wing or whatever you are. We can all agree that this is an issue. That's not what this is. Climate change or gender inequality or any of this other crap that they all push. These are political fucking talking points. These are political issues. They're manufactured on the back of a political ideology. Climate change is a political. It's political. It's not a real thing, in the sense that we can put our differences aside to come together. It's, if you're a progressive wanker, you believe in this shit, right? It's as simple as that. Same with all the nonsense about misogyny and oppression, etc., etc. So, but they present it as if it's an issue where we can all come together. But the reality of the matter is, it's not. It's a political ideology. So you've got a lot of scientists, for example, who will go along with that narrative because they are that way inclined anyway. They are progressives, quote unquote. But then there will obviously be some that need the money to continue doing their research and whatnot. But there is a lot of scientists out there that think it's a load of shit. You just never hear from them.
Yeah, it's I was listening to a thing by a scientist, and what he was saying was, if he was applying for his grant and say he wanted to study the migration pattern of geese, he wouldn't get the grant. But if he wanted to study the migration patterns of geese as affected by climate change, he would get the he would get the grant. So there is a hell of a lot of that. It's like 98% of scientists agree with whatever their paymasters tell them.
Yeah, exactly. And then they always go on about as well that 97% of scientists agree. No, it's like 97% of the scientists that they asked specifically. Out of millions of scientists out there in the world, and climatologists, etc., environmentalists and whatnot, they handpicked a rake of people, probably people that are similar in nature to the one you just described there, where they were reliant on funding to some degree, and they've asked them for their opinion on the matter, and they've all agreed. You know.
The other thing is you can't get your name taken off that list. A lot of them were asked a misleading question, and they went, yeah, I agree to that. And then whenever the letter was produced in full, they went, actually, do you know what? I agreed to one thing that was in this. I don't agree with the rest of it. Take my name off. And they're like, no, fuck you.
Mm-hmm. I think I have heard that before, actually. Yeah. But I mean, even what they did in the BBC a few years ago as well, mind. We think we've already covered that in the last stream that we did, but they just announced that just before the lockdown stuff that they weren't going to have anybody on. I wasn't even aware they ever had anybody on anyway that disagreed with the climate narrative, but the science settled, so we won't be having any climate skeptics on anymore. You know. But that kind of goes back to my point, because you're even seeing it in school now, where like they present climate change, man-made climate change to children, because the argument is this isn't a political matter. This is something where we can put our differences aside. This is a real issue. But the reality of the matter is it's not a real issue. It's simply it's a political ideology. You know?
It sounds very similar to the shit I was told about the nuclear weapons whenever I was a kid.
I can believe
it. Growing up, late 70s, early 80s, we were actually told if there was going to be a nuclear bomb whenever you happen to be in school, get underneath your desk.
Well, that was quite handy because there was always a bit of chewing gum there.
Yeah, well, this is true. But if there was going to be a nuclear bomb, the school, the desk, and everything else is going to be 30 miles up the fucking road.
Well, you know, but you did your best, didn't you? Duck and cover. Don't worry about that. You know.
Yeah. You know, and oh fuck!
Well, do you remember? Sorry, do you? Because I do remember. Because when you're a kid, I mean, I'm assuming you and I, 42, are roughly the same sort of age, but we grew up under the shadow of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And then when it entered into, because the early part of the Reagan administration, and I don't know if that was by design, but it seemed to ramp up an extra notch or two, because when you had the parallel of Reagan and Thatcher, the Cold War, you know, even though the 80s was a great decade as far as I'm concerned, especially when it came to the old, you know, people feeling good about themselves. I think that's the last decade where people genuinely felt good about themselves. Whether or not that was a delusion, then fair enough. But yeah, when they ramped up that hysteria, and before that, you never really, as a kid, you were told these things, and you know, you did get the usual, if this thing happens, then X, Y, Z. But for me, it was only because they showed a series. Well, first, I can't remember if it was the Yank one or the British one, but there was a film. It was the Yank film, and I don't know which one they showed first, but it was the Yank film was called The Day After. Yeah.
Yep.
And the British one was, I think, a series called Threads. And
Yep.
I think I'd have been early teens, like, you know, very early teens when that came out.
Do you remember?
Disturbed me.
Do you remember the Protect and Survive leaflet that every household got?
I don't, mate, if I'm being honest. Probably
No, actually, it wasn't.
My dad picked up and threw in the fire.
Yeah, it was actually a booklet, and it said, if you have the air attack warning, take the interior doors off, right? Lean them up against an interior wall at 45 degrees.
and then get under the hang.
Yeah, get in there. Put your cushions,
Yes.
old clothing on the outside of the door that you had already painted white, right? And
Yeah.
and by the way, this air attack warning is going to be 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Matt,
yes.
you know,
When the wind blows.
Yeah, that was the animated one. That was quite distressing, but that was a little bit later on, I think. But yeah, I remember because I was, I use it all the time. I'm just an idiot, but I'm not a fool. I mean, my dad was the master of coining that particular term, and when any of that bullshit used to come on, because my mum wasn't an idiot either. She was pretty clued up and knew that a lot of this stuff was bullshit. But because my nan actually lived with us, because my granddad died when I was very young, and my nan actually lived with us. So I effectively had two mums. I had my mum and a surrogate mum, which was me nana. And that kind of shit used to really disturb me, nana. It used to really get to it because my mum wasn't bothered in the slightest. But my auntie's sort of my auntie, which is my mum's younger sister, her and my nana, they had the same kinds of irrational anxieties about shit, yeah. And when stuff like that used to come on, because my family were all smokers, so my mum and dad were, and nana used to smoke all the time. We used to say people used to come round to have a plate of fags when they used to come round. So when that advert used to come on, she goes, "Oh, do you not think could do with glossing them doors to me dad because could do with a bit of gloss." Oh, flipping it! You've been listening to that bullshit on the television. He says never mind where I paint on them doors. You'll be kissing your ass goodbye, whether or not.
All that stuff seemed to be pushed on to 11 to 19-year-olds.
Yeah, well, like I say, I hadn't given it a second thought. And when it was like I say, I don't know which one was first, whether it was the British one or the American one. But I remember distinctly watching The Day After, which was a film with Jason Robards in the Yank one. And then I can't remember which one, but I saw Threads after that one. So I don't know when that happened or when it was shown, but I saw Threads after that one. And I thought that The Day After was pretty bad, but it wasn't as bad. Threads was really fucking dark. I mean, if you were a kid of that age where you're still young enough to still enjoy going out and playing on your bikes with your mates, but you're old enough to know how many beans make 9. And you see something like that and you think, oh shit, is that real? Because I do remember there was one story which is the one once again that sticks in my mind, where there was a young woman, or her and a boyfriend, she just found out before the old bomb had dropped, sort of thing, that she was pregnant, and obviously because of the radiation, she lost the baby, and that haunted me. That really disturbed me. I don't know why, but that was just one of the aspects that really, really disturbed me.
And a further backdrop to this is, I grew up around a lot of bombs, right? I lived in Belfast I was alive during the worst of it. And I was a hell of a lot more, I remember being a hell of a lot more worried about a nuclear bomb that was never, ever, ever going to happen than I was about the one around the corner that was going to happen. Which I find is quite strange.
Well, I think that because obviously, even on the mainland, there was always a threat of something kicking off in that respect. But you never really paid it much attention, to be honest. That kind of thing. Whereas, the big bad beast of the bear of the East, Russia, or the Soviets, the USSR, was a constant reminder. And once again, I just can't help, because I didn't have the world knowledge or the mindset, just to realize it was all part of the same bloody, military complex, the global military complex, fleecing taxpayer money, but literally a grift. It was a grift, wasn't it? When you think about the Cold War, at the end of the day, initially it might have been the Cold War, the mistrust between two nations, but it was pretty, get past the Bay of Pigs in 61, yeah. I don't think anybody believed it was going to happen. You used to have to rattle the cage every now and again and pretend that. But that's what basically funded the military industrial complex for like the next 30 years. And lo and behold, as soon as the Soviet Union breaks up under Gorbachev, who signed all those peace agreements, etc., within 2 years we've got the new baddie, the Gulf War. Let's start on that. So you've got to remember that the system that is in place within the United States is all about lobbying groups and funding from things like the military industrial complex, Lockheed Martin, all of those type organizations. So they have to have some form of continual war somewhere, because most of the politicians whose palms are being greased and arse pockets are being filled with nefarious monies is coming from a lot of that. They got a bit of respite the 2 years of COVID, where they were able to annex tax money on the pretense of, it needs to go to these big pharma, which all of those monies are still going to the likes of BlackRock and Vanguard, because they are the owners of Pfizer, Moderna, all the other ones. You think you have some kind of choice when it comes to Coca-Cola and Pepsi, but Coca-Cola and Pepsi are still owned by Vanguard and BlackRock. So it doesn't matter if you're on the Pepsi side or on the Coca-Cola side. It doesn't matter if you're Adidas or Nike. You're still paying the industrialists who are effectively telling the world how they should be run, under threat of, well, we'll just basically destroy you financially, which is exactly what those organizations can do.
Oh, Toffee's a bit worried about all the Cold War talk. His Fed post fingers twitching.
Yeah, but the problem with Toffee is he's thinking about cold lobby, which is wonderful, hot or cold, whereas Scouse is shit cold. So there you go.
Yeah. Samson DJ, have you heard of a guy called Matthew Harris?
It doesn't ring a bell, mate. No.
No, I don't think so.
Or Umbrellas. This will sort of tie into a bit of why academia is so fucked up. I'm going to introduce you to Matthew Harris. This is actually quite funny, apart from it's a little bit serious. Well, anyway, come top that one. Here we go. A former UCLA lecturer not competent to stand trial on threat charges. Just want to check out what come up it has. Right. So Matthew Harris was arrested in February 2022 after circulating an 800-page manifesto threatening violence against 35 individuals. Now, this guy, what he did was he put up his 800-page manifesto, which was strikingly similar to his PhD thesis. It was basically the same thing, what he was teaching. And he posted it online, and he also uploaded 300 odd videos on YouTube in one day. I think he'd had them all sort of sitting there. And at that point, whenever he put it into the university stuff, for various reasons, they said to come after him. So a former University of California, Los Angeles philosopher lecturer was accused of circulating 802-page manifesto pledging mass violence, will not stand trial in February after a federal judge on Friday determined him mentally incompetent. Matthew Harris, 31, faces 2 counts of threats in interstate commerce, each carrying a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison, a $250,000 fine if convicted. Harris also faces one count of making a false statement to a firearms dealer and wrongfully possessing ammunition, both punishable by up to 10 years in prison and a £250,000 fine if convicted. Harris pleaded not guilty in February 22. The court finds a preponderance of the evidence that the defendant is presently suffering from a mental disease or defect, rendering him mentally incompetent to the extent he is only able to understand the nature and consequences of the proceedings against him or to assist properly in his defense. U.S. District Judge Raymond Moore wrote in a 3-page order. Moore was appointed by Barack Obama. Moore ordered Harris hospitalized until his condition improves enough to stand trial or the pending charges are dismissed. He will likely be reevaluated within 4 months. Harris joined the UCLA Department of Psychology in spring 2019 as a postdoctorate fellow. According to federal prosecutors in January 2021, Harris sent his mother an email entitled "Plans to Murder Catherine Ritchie" in September. In September, when UC Irvine reopens with a MP5 for giving me schizophrenia. According to an affidavit by FBI Special Agent Stephanie Benitez, Ritchie is a philosophy professor at the University of California, Irvine. Following several other emails over the next few months, Harris's mother informed the UCLA philosophy department that her son was mentally ill. In April 21, UCLA police issued a threat warrant for Harris. He was detained in North Carolina and hospitalized for 1 month. In June 21, a restraining order was filed against Harris, banning him from California college campuses and from possessing weapons for 3 years. He moved to Boulder, Colorado that summer. That November, prosecutors say he obtained a Colorado state driver's license and attempted to buy a bodyguard revolver at a silver bullet shooting range in White Ridge, Colorado. The purchase was denied. Prosecutors said January 31st, 22, Harris shared a Google Drive link of a 803-page manifesto titled Death Sentences with 35 individuals named. Throughout the manifesto, Harris made a variety of threats to employees. The word kill is in there 7,512 times, shoot 2,512, and bomb 248 times. The manifesto expressed an infatuation with a woman named Sandra and with John Bennett Ramsey, the 6-year-old youth beauty pageant queen who was murdered in her family's Colorado home in 1996. Prosecutors say Harris posted the video titled UCLA Philosophy Mass Shooting to his YouTube channel, which, according to the FBI affidavit, shows Harris talking with images from the 2003 movie Zero Day, which depicts a movie version of surveillance cameras at Columbia school shooting. Boulder Police Department arrested Harris this past February and found him in possession of 36 boxes of ammunition. So this guy had all the same opinions whenever he was in university, and then they decided to arrest him whenever, instead of various groups of society, they were put towards people in the actual faculty. What do you think, guys?
Well, the thing is, like I say, if he hadn't used real names, it would have just been a work of fiction. It just would have, that's the way it would have been. The bloke's clearly disturbed in some shape or form, but I think once
you're about to say exactly how disturbed. That's the wrong link. 1 second. I just get this link up. I've got. Yes.
And you've got him online now. He's going to join us. So
no, I've got a video of the dude, right? That he uploaded to YouTube.
Go on then.
Right. Here we go. Hold on. Right. Here we go. Matthew Harris himself. Need to get the share on. Present. Share screen. This guy is also known as the unbreaded guy. For obvious reasons.
Unbreaded.
What?
Yeah, this guy okay?
Touchdown. On paper, unbreaded. Right.
What the hell?
Yeah. On paper,
What? Is
unbreaded.
this, is this,
What?
The
is
fuck?
this about an
Hold on.
educator?
He's getting there.
Touchdown. Paper, unbreaded. Right. Touchdown. Paper. I never give a shit.
Scissors. Rock.
That. This was never the these. Touchdown. Paper, unbreaded. Die.
I tell you what, I'll have a pint of what he's having. Oh, look at the state of that.
Yeah,
That's
but-
him. That's this Matthew. What's
Yes,
his face?
that is Matthew Harris.
And he's an educator. Who in the Christ?
He's a
let
fucking
him anywhere
lecturer.
near a school? Fucking tea.
Right. Now, do you know Nick Rakita Law?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Right. Did Stream the Carrie Rittenhouse trial? Streams a lot of trials.
Aye.
Well, Nick Rakita has done something amazing. Absolutely fucking amazing. He has the manifesto. And every day he reads one page. Right?
Right.
Have you got a page for us or
Yes, I've got a page.
great stuff?
Right. It's called the unbreaded segment.
Why?
Oh,
Can I
oh,
just
oh.
ask a question, mate? Because I
Yeah.
haven't got a Scooby Doo. This fucker is. But why unbreaded? What the fuck has bread got to do with it?
Well, I'll explain now what bread's got to do with it.
Go on,
Let's
then.
see, is that still up on the screen? Yes.
Yes.
Right. Well, listen to what he's saying, and why would you not call him unbreaded?
Touchdown. Paper, unbreaded.
What?
Yeah, this guy okay?
Touchdown. On paper, unbreaded. Right.
Right.
It sounds.
Yeah.
It sounds like that. bloody,
Touchdown.
you know, Agent Orange.
Unbreaded.
shit, you know, the fucking
What?
Manchurian
The fuck?
candidate bollocks.
Hold on.
doesn't it?
He's getting there.
Touchdown. Paper, unbreaded. Right. Touchdown. Paper. I never give a shit. That. This was never the these. Touchdown. Paper, unbreaded. Die.
So hold on a minute, right? So when he was giving lectures, was he like the lecturing equivalent of James Brown?
Oh,
Let me hear some. Hit me. Yeah.
I tell you what he did whenever he was giving lectures. He gave us, he graded his class, and he gave all the good-looking women a pass or an A, and he gave everybody else a fail. And then
Fuck.
then the faculty went in, and they changed it and gave everybody like a high C or a B. And then he went back in and changed it again. This guy was this disturbed while he was fucking teaching the goddamn class.
But it wouldn't mean nothing. Nothing. Without a woman or a girl. Let me hear
Oh.
say a yes, sir.
Oh, Raymond Piper has come up with the goods. Unbreaded slang for I don't give a fuck anymore because Raymond Piper just Googled it.
So
Nah.
he was saying touchdown on
Yeah.
paper or pepper. I couldn't fucking figure that one out. And then
Touchdown
unbreaded.
on paper, unbreaded.
So that's down on paper. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. Now, what I'm going to get up now is the unbreaded segment and a page from his manifesto.
Okay.
I didn't like go searching for a particularly good one. I just found the first one, the first sort of unbreaded section that I found. So we've got that there. I'm going to share that. This is Nick Ricciardo's unbreaded segment. Very well worth watching.
Are you ready? Are you ready,
Oh,
Drake?
wait.
What?
Oh god, it's the fucking cat.
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Right, he's going to start reading it in a second. Yes,
I'm picking a page.
Ricciardo's the
Oh,
Pope of
God.
Lordship.
What do we got? 424. If there's a repeat page, I mean, that's the repeat page. Hold on, we're gonna redo that. 335. That's not going to be a repeat page right there. That's going to be a high quality page. I can already tell. Uh-oh. Okay. This is on point for today. This is right on the fucking subject.
Oh,
You ready
okay.
for this? So I guess I'll read it, right? Because
Yeah.
you're
I
not
won't
gonna
be able to see.
You're not gonna be able to read this shit. Okay, so here we go. This is unbreaded. Our daily unbreaded. Binger and a
Get up, get on up.
And one Binger with a sniper rifle brought DC to tears and treading in fear. One Binger make the mightiest army and all the king's horses and all the king's men scared as a bunch of schoolgirls. One Binger. Sniper rifle only costs $500. All you need.
Oh, here, there's a couple of code words. Binger is a code word for a binger. Yeah, binger's a code for a word that begins with N and ends in. Yeah, and there's a couple of other code words. They'll rhyme. If they come up, you'll get them.
I'm an expert in pigeon.
What you do is go to that boarding school and snip, snip, snip at the skull of those children. Attach a scope to an assault rifle. Hit those Richies with an AK-47. Richie Rich won't know what hit him. Shoot the fuck out of those little piglets. Shoot those little fucks up where they breathe, breed, and go to school. Why the fuck would you work for this man? Coexistence is the problem because they do not really value our lives. They only value their own money. Binger are only treated as valuable while they are holding the enemy's money, but Binger own it all. From the moment Binger is born, he is treated brainwashed like a slave who is always on the defense thinking he needs to look upward. Binger is always thinking, ooh, don't turn on me. Don't get angry, white folk. Binger's always watching TV, although nothing has ever changed in Binger's lifetime. That Binger is conditioned like a lab rat by the Jew. It's not a joke. He's conditioned to think, I don't want them white folks to take my rights away. They going to take away the right to vote. They going to take away everything Binger need. They going to turn the lights out. Binger remained terrified. These white people coming for me, they ain't going to give me no more money. I won't be able to go up there and get that white man to pay me. I ain't going to be able to go up there and get that white man to pay me. They ain't going to make me a slave, but they going to take everything away. They going to take my rights away. They going to take away the right to vote. They going to take away everything the Binger need. They going to turn the lights out. The Binger is conditioned to think he needs the white man to tell him what year it is. That he has to be afraid. That he thinks he needs fear. He needs the white man to tell when it's time for the sun to rise, when Congress should meet, when he should go to bed, when it's time to turn the lights on and out. The Binger is conditioned to listen to the white man tell him what year it is. And when the ball drops in Times Square, The white man tells him when it's time for the sun to rise. The white man does a study and he tells you where the truth is, and that's where everything come from. The white man at the college tell you how the world works. The white man come his office and say, this is what you need to know. All right, thank you, boss. Now I know. I's gonna go home and I's gonna use it. One day or another, the Binger wakes up and realizing that the only problem is coexistence. The only challenge, the only issue, the only thing wrong with this is coexistence. Coexistence is the problem. Trying to let the white man be your boss in the first place, trying to let the white man tell you anything, trying to live next to the white man in the same plane, in the same reality, in the same world as the white man. Oh, it works no matter how they try to put a dent in it. The problem is that Bingers stopped trying to forcefully kill them. There was a slave uprising, and one day it ended, and somehow Bingers settled for scraps.
I'm bread.
Well, what do we think, people?
Get up, get on up, stay on the scene, get on up like a six machine. Get on up, get on up, breaded, safe.
Yeah. Like, the problem is this fucker was an actual lecturer teaching, educating people and grading papers, and he's a fucking lunatic.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier on.
Yeah.
About fucking like guy that's like, we're not going to do maths today. We're going to talk about intersectionality, etc. You know, these people are everywhere. You know, and it's kind of hard to differentiate between lunatics and political lunatics. They're all the fucking same nowadays. Barely any lecturers in universities are normal anymore. It really just depends on how fucked up they are. You know?
That's where this would be funny if it wasn't so fucking serious. Yeah, but I thought I would bring this in and let you see it because it's fucking, it's mad.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, to be fucking honest, you know?
Yeah. No, it's not the worst thing, but they were fine with having him in school with all his opinions like that because that's what his original PhD was like. It was only whenever he turned it against the faculty that they decided that he needed to go.
Yeah. Goes to show, Makes you wonder, though, do the people that have the ability to decide whether or not people like him remain in a job, do they all genuinely believe and agree with the shit that people like him come away with? Because clearly they can't have been that sold on his ideas if they were quick to change their tune the second he turned on them.
I think it's all a fucking warp.
To be honest, I probably would have needed subtitles for that because that's like a combination of a schizophrenic on crack cocaine. I don't know what the fuck he was talking about, to be honest. I mean, I'm assuming he's referring to that fucking shooting years ago in America with the sniper.
Yeah, that page was about the sniper and how he brought that city to its knees. But I mean, because I watch Necrophilia, I've heard a hell of a lot of pages of this, and like
You watch Necrophilia?
No,
what?
Necrophilia.
All right.
The guy with the Pope hat, he puts on his Pope hat for doing the unbraided section.
How do you feel knowing about Nick Ricciata, then that story that dropped about him, that he's got his wee Discord server where he gets all his wee fans and that the lassies to send him nude photos, and they I think that's a bit weird when he's got a wife, like. But then
that's not actually true.
Is it no?
No, he has a Discord service that is currently closed that he didn't go into. Very rarely there was people supposed to be monitoring it. the amount of social media that guy does is off the fucking charts, and he was sort of letting the Discord run itself. And he had a not safe for school where it was like an out of control chat feature where all these people were saying stuff to each other. But then they started to post it in the normal part of the Discord, and he shut the whole thing down, and it's not coming. It is coming back, but there has to be rules and stuff and all put in place.
Oh, all right. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yep. And he's currently being sued by Montegraph.
Who?
There's a guy called Montegraph who apparently, allegedly, made a film about 5 years ago that was refused to get to have classification because there was like CP or a snuff movie type element to it. And he goes into Nick Rekiera's chat, and Nick Rekiera said some not nice things about Montegraph, which he's saying are free speech. The bit that he said about him was funny as fuck because I remember watching it live and it was funny. And
Somebody's
Montegraph,
suing him for something mean being said about him.
yeah,
Fuck.
yes. Somebody suing him for there being mean words, and that case could actually turn out quite funny.
Yeah, if it was Scotland, he would probably win. I doubt he'll win in America, though.
No. And given that the guy is a lawyer and has hired some very, very good lawyers that specialize in free speech cases, and one of his complaints is that Nick Rekiera called him a retard, right? But he also said that whenever your YouTube channel gets above a certain size, that the American Disability Association allocates you a retard, and Montegraph is his retard that's being allocated to him, which is blatantly not true, obviously a joke, and that's what he's suing him for.
Fucking hell. The irony being, of course, that unless he's doing it because he's off the belief that he might actually have a chance of winning for some money, it kind of sounds like he is a bit of a retard.
Yeah.
Allegedly, don't sue me. Eh?
Yeah.
He'd have
yes.
to be, sure.
Nick Rekiera said a lot of funny shit about Caffels, who is a tranny activist, and he got kicked off YouTube for that. He got kicked off Twitter. He was already off Twitter. He got kicked off pretty much everything. And then 3 days later, he ended up back on YouTube, but he now does most of his stuff on Rumble.
Yeah. Somebody I don't really watch that often, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I more watch people that take the piss out of him, which I'm not proud to say, but I only do that when I'm bored.
Yeah.
That Kino Casino, I sometimes watch that when I'm really fucking bored.
Well, I enjoy the trials. There's a trial going on at the minute which makes absolutely fuck all sense. Some solicitor in America that's accused of shooting his wife and his son, but there's nothing about the evidence that has been put forward that actually suggests that he actually did it.
So it's like a framing or something.
Yeah, it looks like it looks for all the world like the prosecutor's department wanted to prosecute this guy, and they've went for it balls deep without the actual evidence. Like, he supposedly shot his son in the head with a shotgun twice, and there was blood and brain all over the place, but didn't somehow splatter on any of his clothing. And it was supposed to be from up close. There's inconsistencies.
Just a bit, by the sounds of it. Unless he had a miraculous instantaneous clothes swap.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you know, and the timeline just doesn't work, and there's all sorts of things, but they're going for the prosecution anyway.
Surely that won't fucking landed a conviction.
Yep. Who the hell knows these days? And the dumpster defenders. One of the dumpster defenders got sentenced to 14 years. These were two people following a son that ended up in an argument with another guy about putting a mattress into a dumpster, and the guy that was putting the mattress in, that they said you can't put that mattress in there, he swung at them with a baseball bat and got shot. And the guy that shot him in Texas got 14 years.
America, eh?
Yep.
Fucking hell. Heard a story on the radio when I was at work last week as well, that a wee fucking boy, he was like 7-year-old in America last week, yeah, took his parents' gun into school and shot his teacher.
Yeah.
Don't know any more than that. I just heard it on the radio. But
Mm.
it's America for you.
Yeah. And we've now got somebody called Umbrella in the chat. Right. Nah. Let's have a look at what else we have in the list. Do we want to talk about the new batch of BLM rats?
I didn't even know there was.
There was a black guy killed by...
Oh, by a bunch of black cops or something.
Yes.
Have they managed to spin it yet to make it the white man's fault?
It seems that the black cops were have caught racism off the white cops. I think there is something interesting about that. Just hooking that link now to check. Hold on. No, it's not that one. I think it's this one. Yep.
Funny you mentioned that actually, because I was just looking on Telegram, and I happened to be on Red Ice TV's Telegram, and he's posted a screenshot of a cunt on Twitter called Tim Wise, and his tweet says, and I quote, "Anyone who says the killing of," I assume he's called, looks like Tyre. I'll say Tyree.
Yeah.
Tyree Nichols can't be about racism. Let me say it again. Anyone who says the killing of Tyree Nichols can't be about racism because the cops were also black really doesn't understand how white supremacy or anti-blackness works. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Or maybe, just maybe, it had fuck all to do with racism.
Right. I've got the link. Here we go. Right. Here we go. Come see that?
Aye.
Right. Back to this. A bit of a video of the protests. Oh. Oh, they have jumped it all. They're also trying to push the pressure from this guy to somebody else that was shot at a different time. Atlanta Governor Brian Kemp declares a state of emergency Thursday, giving him the option of calling in the Georgia National Guard in response to violent protests in downtown Atlanta over the killing by authorities of an environmental activist said to have shot a state trooper. Apparently, the what they've been saying in the news is being stopped for a traffic violation. I'm thinking there's a possibility has more to do with the fact that there was a warrant out for him for being an environmental activist said to have shot a state trooper. The decision allows the Republican governor to call up to 1,000 guard members over the next 15 days to help subdue riot and unlawful assembly. A camp spokesman said later that there had been no mobilization so far, and the order is a precautionary measure that gives the governor the ability to act if necessary. Protesters set a police cruiser on fire on Saturday night, threw rocks, and lit fireworks in front of a skyscraper that houses the Atlanta Police Foundation. Officials have said no citizens or responding officers were injured, but the window of 3 businesses were damaged. And then, in his state address on Wednesday, Camp described protesters as out-of-state rioters who tried to bring violence to the streets of our capital city. He said it was just the latest example of why here in Georgia we'll always back the blue. Lawmakers also voiced outrage and disapproval, although some Democrats tempered their remarks with calls to look for more solutions to violence as well. Authorities arrested 6 people on Saturday night on charges including domestic terrorism and said unspecified explosives were recovered. The violent protesters were a subsection of hundreds of demonstrators who marched to mourn the death of the protester who went by the name of Torchagilla. And I think this is where they've swapped it to somebody fucking else. But there you go.
You know, it really. I mean, I'm going to sound like a bit of a dick here, but I don't give a shit about really what happens in America, apart from when their crap ends up boiling over and landing on our doorstep, like the George Floyd shit. And when I say that, it's not that I don't have empathy for white Americans or whatever. I just mean, like, I don't pay attention to what happens in America, so I couldn't tell you if the mainstream media is doing what I'm assuming they're doing over there right about now and totally hyping this up and promoting total false and disingenuous narratives like they did with Fentanyl Floyd. But the more that that's done, the more it sort of reaffirms the delusions that a lot of these protesters have. Whenever a BAME is killed, irrespective of the reasoning behind it or that, you know, why he was wanted in the first place, why he was in a dispute with police, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, instantly it's because he's black. Instantly, it's because he's BAME. Instantly, it's because of racism. You know, but if the roles are reversed, right, and a white person is killed by the police, which does happen, not a fucking peep. You know, and that's partly in part because it's anti-white shit, as per usual. It's partly because the mainstream media pounce on it and promote the narrative that these protesters want to believe. And then it's propped up even further by so-called politicians in America. Now, as I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. I don't know if it's been hyped up the same way that Fentanyl Floyd was hyped up. I would probably hazard a guess that it's probably not going to be as well, the one with the black cops anyway, because they were black cops. So that will quite quietly die a death over time. But had they been white, you'd never hear the fucking end of it, to be honest. But it's just a repetitive pattern in America. They always go on about mass shootings. Well, the most mass shootings take place black people killing other fucking blacks every weekend in like Chicago. Now you don't hear people about that though. No, but a white guy does something. Or if a poor innocent baby BAME, you know, criminal BAME dies at the hands of the police, you know, that's grounds to go out and burn your city down because you're fighting the good fight, tackling the oppression. Fuck off.
Yep. Sansom, anything in that?
Well, I echo exactly the same what Resisting the Lie says, and I had like a private chat with Toffee on the old Telegram where I echoed virtually the same as what DJ just said. I don't. The problem that we have in our society as it stands now is that we're always playing. You know, well, it's not playing the second fiddle, but it always seems to be that we always seem to be under the shadow of whatever transpires in America. Yeah. And same as what DJ was saying, I don't care what the American establishment does. My advocacy is that we separate ourselves from their regime. Don't get me wrong, I do care dearly about our American friends, but I'd happily see the entirety of their administration destroyed, much in the same way that I'd see ours destroyed. But the fact that we seem to follow on with everything that happens in the States, just like, and once again, DJ said it with Fentanyl Floyd there, we had to put up with months of shit for something that didn't even happen in our country. So that's how much of this particular, link between ourselves, the link between ourselves and the Americans seems to have manifested itself. So, in my opinion, and you can see already, I mean, I think Bonnie Lad's already dropped a couple of, news articles where it's basically saying, yes, okay, the victim is black. Yes, all of the police involved were black. Yes, the mayor is black. Yes, it is a predominantly black city, but it's still all to do with white nationalism, or white supremacy. It's like, how in the world are you drawing this conclusions? Now, I haven't actually seen the video in question, and even on sort of so-called right-wing excursions like Tucker Carlson, they are saying, this is brutal. Nobody can be, even condone the behavior of those policemen. But once again, it has to be framed in terms of race. Now, imagine the people involved were grey. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about previously in the stream we did a little bit earlier with Horace the Woodlander and No Chance. If you were to frame that, instead of thinking about in terms of like left or right or any other anachronism, just think about it in terms of good and evil. Is what happened there an act of good or evil? Well, it was clearly an evil act, yeah, the bloke was a perp. We didn't expect it. Didn't Did he warrant being beaten? Did he warrant that happening to him? Yeah, and I don't know. Is the honest answer? I don't know, and I don't care because it's happened in the States. But I saw equal effrontery acts being performed in this country, not necessarily to the same degree, but certainly on a par with regards to how people are being treated. Where we saw in the middle of a pandemic in May of 2020, May through June, BLM got free license to do whatever they wanted to do, and not one of those same Nick Spittle shits in power, whether it was Chris Whitty or Valance or Boris the Clown, would come out and say, oh, these are super spreader events. But lo and behold, you get a few people, 70-year-old lady stood outside of Parliament saying stop lockdowns, bashed upside the head with a billy club and straight into the back of a Black Mariah.
The World Health Organization came out and said that although COVID was a problem, racism is also a problem, and the Black Lives Matter protests needed to happen.
Well, no, it didn't quite clearly, but once again,
sorry, just to interject very quickly there. There was articles that came out at the time in 2020 that actually went as far as to say that that, believe it or not, the Black Lives Matter protests were helping to slow the spread of COVID. So while we were all locked up to ensure that the ever-increasing spread of the virus didn't speed up anymore, the Black Boys went out for a wee riot and they managed to slow the spread. Work that one out.
Oh, well, there you go. It slowed the spread because anybody was sent stayed at home. But but these once again, these are completely nonsensical standpoints, and once again, unrelated. Well, just give the disparity there. But to that point that DJ's made, like slowed the spread. Well, the British government in particular, and I'm just going to concentrate on our government because, like I say, I don't care what happens. I care dearly about what happens to our American friends, as in the people. But I want their administration to be destroyed, just in the same way as I want our administration to be destroyed, because none of them are fit for purpose. They're just horrendous. But they were that concerned about this global pandemic that every single airport for legal immigration stayed wide open. There was absolutely no hindrance to anybody entering this country whatsoever legally. During, we weren't allowed to go and see our neighbours or go and have a barbecue with friends and family. You can't have that. It's a super spreader event. You're, the rule of 6 bullshit, yeah? And yet, wide open to the rest of the fucking world. How does that work? Explain that to me. And have you
ever seen an open window on a plane?
Exactly. You know
right.
what I mean? Well, I have once, but Goldfinger got sucked out of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but here's the thing: whenever they close those doors in London, that same air gets circulated around with a little bit of added oxygen here and there until 5 hours later people get off. So whatever anybody has whenever you get on that plane, everybody has by the time you get off. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And well, I was funny enough. I was speaking to John Davidson a couple of weeks back. He did a stream and he just sort of randomly invited me on to have a bit of a chin on with him. And in the after, in the green room afterwards, when we were having a bit of a chat, and we were talking about the fact that every single one, or virtually every single one, of the hypocritical standpoints that our treacherous government and all of the wastrels involved over the last 2 years just literally crumble into bits. And I said to John, I said, well, the thing is, there's still people out there, ordinary people. I'm not talking about the government establishment paid for shitlibs or whatever. I'm talking about ordinary people who still think that, the lockdowns were necessary, wearing masks were necessary, the jibby jabby jooby was necessary. And I said, well, the easiest way, if I ever meet a person like that to this day, because you still see them, don't you? You still see the mask wankers walking around now. It's unbelievable. But if they were ever to, if ever it was to revert, or, they're trying to roll out the next big thing and try and take us back to those times, and I got one of these twats trying to impose their will on me, yeah? Because, just doing a little deviation there, all of a sudden, a year ago, well, a year to 16 months ago, your vaccination status was very fucking important in this country, wasn't it? Like, you can't do this unless you're vaccinated, can't do that unless you can't do this unless you're vaccinated. But all of a sudden, you drop dead for no apparent reason. You have a what they called have you suffered from a coincidence recently? Have you seen that video? You drop down. All of a sudden, famous people, sports people, young and old, they drop dead for no apparent reason. Were they vaccinated? Oh, you can't fucking ask that. Oh, well, hold on a minute. A year ago, that was pretty fucking important to you fuckers, wasn't it?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You wanted to go in for a cup of coffee. You had the proof of vaccination or a negative fucking test result.
Yeah. But like I say, that was then. You had to prove that you followed the system, basically. You had to prove you were a regime sheep, basically. Well, now that you see people dropping like flies for no apparent reason, even intimating the question, were they jibby jabbed? Oh, you can't ask that. That's private information. Yeah, fuck you. It was private information last year. But guess what? People were held over a barrel on it, so fuck you. We need to know. And more importantly, not because it affects us because we didn't take the jibby jabby Jew jab, but we have to know, because those that did may be at an elevated risk. And guess what? And quite a few of those people I actually fucking care about. You know what I mean? Because they're family members. So I want to fucking know, if you don't mind. Thank you very much, twat. You know what I mean? But to discredit these fucking mask wankers and the people who are still on the same hegemon, I would say to them this. 3 questions, 3 simple questions. And I offered this, I would offer this up freely right now. And I would say it to them straight to the faces, because they could never do it. It's an unachievable thing. I will believe every single thing that you believe, and I will go and get the jab tomorrow if you can answer me this question. Number 1, how does a virus, which is nothing more than a protein shell, so even simpler a life form than a bacteria, yeah, how does a protein shell know how to count? Oh, what do you mean? Well, the rule of 6. How does a protein shell, a virus, know if there's 4 of you, 3, 5, or 7 of you? How does it know to only attack you when you're in a group of 6 or more? Oh, well, it's the numbers, isn't it? That excuse off. All right. Well, we'll let that one slide. Right? All right. Okay. How does a protein shell, which is a far, far lower life form than a bacteria, know if you're standing up or sitting down? Well, what do you mean? Well, you fucking twat, were quite happy to walk up to a bar wearing a mask, and then as soon as you sat down, took the cunt off. How the fuck do you think the virus is not good? All right.
I tell you better than that. How did all the virus know to get into the alcohol section after 8 p.m. at night?
Well, what about the people that were allowed to not wear a mask if they had anxiety? It's funny you mention all that there, because
don't worry about these.
When this COVID stuff first started in 2020, that's what I tended to do. I used to take the piss out of the narrative, as opposed to being one of these cunts that would do the deep dives and all the science. I would just rip the narrative apart, because none of it makes sense.
But the final one, right? And here's the clincher, and this is the one, irrespective of your, skewed logic reasoning for a number of people, or, the airflow above because the heat rises, all these bullshit that makes, if you understand anything about physics, you understand Brownian motion and you understand osmosis, and you know for a fact that makes no fucking sense whatsoever, you fucking idiots, right? The final one, and here's the clincher. How does a protein shell, which is a far lower life form than even the most rudimentary bacteria, suddenly become a culinary expert? Oh, what do you mean by that then? Well, how the fuck does a virus know the difference between a substantial meal and a bag of fucking crisps, you idiot? Answer me that. And if you can do it in a sensible way, I'll go and get the jab tomorrow. Needless to say, I'm as far away from a needle as I've ever been.
Being somebody that has to wear masks for work, right, because I work with chemicals and shit, right? Do you know how you know if your mask is stopping stuff getting in and your air's coming out okay? Put your mask on, go shovel shit for a while, and see can you smell it. And those things that we had put on that were supposed to be masks have no chance whatsoever of protecting me from a biological fucking agent.
Not even the fucking boxes that the vast majority of the generic ones came and said it on the box. They don't protect you from fucking viruses like that. And then obviously the elephant in the room was China, where it allegedly started off. They walk about every day of their life wearing fucking masks, but yet they all came down with this so-called deadly virus. Well, the mask can't be that effective, if that's the case.
I don't know if the problem is the amount of rules that were put in, or the fact that so many people just went along with no pushback whatsoever.
I don't know. I mean, we all know like what they were doing with their nudge units and whatnot, but I still can't really fucking get my head around how effective it became very quickly. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right away, it like overnight, people just went in, like they just changed. Like, and I mean, I remember as if it was yesterday in the news and the run up to it. You kept hearing about it, and I was on the fence. The videos on my channel are still there for when I was on the fence. I didn't know what to make of it, but I was never fucking shitting myself. And then I remember going into Tesco's and that at the start of it all, like every shelf was barren, you know. And then as the weeks went on, and then the months went on, and they made the masks mandatory, but they had all the retarded rules, as Sensen was alluded to there. And these were all things by this point I didn't believe in anyway. I thought it was a load of shit, but they just sort of cemented my view. Whereas these people, despite all of these oddities stated at them in the face, they just couldn't accept it. Like, no. They refused to entertain even the possibility that something wasn't quite right. And then, worse than that, though, you would sometimes bang into people that would agree with you that some of the things that they were putting into place didn't make sense, but it wouldn't go any further than that. That in and of itself is questionable. There's people out there that refuse to entertain that sound weird, but then there was also people who knew there was something a bit weird, but still went along with it anyway. And it really was the most depressing fucking period of my life. And I say that as a cunt that spent the vast majority of his 20s a miserable black-pilled dick. But that really did put the final nail in the coffin for me, that there is no hope for society. There really fucking isn't at this point. You know, you've got that gay dentist, Jason Leach, in Scotland again. He came out a couple of weeks ago, along with Thin Lips and along with this other wanker, health expert, quote unquote. And they're telling everybody that they should consider wearing masks again. We need a culture change to go back to masks. And what have you started to see in other shops now? Not as bad as it was in 2020, but there's been an uptick of dicks wearing masks. Why? Because Nicola Thin Lips told you to. You know, hang off her fucking coffee-stained, stinky word, if that makes you feel any better.
Anthony Johnson, thank you very much, mate. Very welcome. But very nice comment there, saying that the stream's great. So thanks, chum. What I will say is, that reminded me, day one, I remember going to Tesco and the toilet paper had all gone. Day two, the pasta had all gone. Day three, I had to go to the bigger Tesco's, not my closest one, the next one, the big fucking superstore, and they were down to like 4 bottles of Crofter cider. I remember taking them up the till, and the guy saying, "No, you're only allowed 3. That's the maximum." And looking the guy in the face and saying, "Do you know what? See, whenever the toilet paper and the pasta disappeared, that was funny. But if I don't get access to my cider, some fucker's going to die." So what I'm doing is I'm paying for 3 of them, and then I'm paying for another one, and I'm not moving away from the till in between. And you can call that 2 things. He went, "Yeah, walk away, mate."
Fucking hell.
Sorry, just to pick up on a point, that's a very salient point that DJ made there. The people who knew and had readily admitted that they knew there was something not right, and they knew it was all a load of bollocks, and yet still went on with it, still went along with the thing just to keep the peace or just so they had an easier life. They were the most hateful people in all of that exercise. And the reason why I blame them far more than I do than the acceptors, the people who were all on board with what was going on, is because those people had a genuine reason, because they'd been propagandized into that element of fear of must sanitize your hands and must wear your nap on your face and don't do this and make you're closer than me than 6 foot, move back a bit. These wankers. At least I have a tiny amount of sympathy for them, because they fell for the fucking nerve tag and sage, behavioral psychologists and social engineer bullshit. But the fuckers who knew it was a load of bullshit, but still went on with it anyway, just so they could walk into Tesco's unchallenged and do that. They were the most hateful, fucking treacherous bastards that this country's ever seen. And it's people like them is why our country's turning the way it is, because they'll not fucking turn around and do anything about the shit that we're having to put up with all the time, whether that's the old trans crap or whether it's immigration or anything else. Those just in it, for an easy life mob, those are the fuckers, are the ones who, the worst of the people in society, I hold them in more disregard than I do the people who are happy clapping and saying refugees welcome and all this stuff, because at least you know where you stand with them. But these other fuckers who, don't like it as much as you, but rather than stand up and say, yeah, this is wrong, they'd just rather just go along to get along. You are the fucking problem, because you're the vast majority. And with your support, we could turn all of this shit around tomorrow. But you were the fuckers that allowed that to continue, and for the next end of 2 years. And you, just like Dr. John Campbell, are part of the fucking problem.
No, you're not wrong, because at the end of the day, irrespective of whether or not everybody that's watching the stream right now and everybody that we know in real life and whatnot, that from the start or roundabout, when they realized something was up, didn't really quote unquote comply, it's futile when the vast majority of the population is going along with it. Now, as you alluded to, and as I did as well, some of those people, obviously, they wholeheartedly believe the fucking nonsense that they're being bombarded with on a daily basis. And it was bad at the start, like the weird atmosphere just in general when you walked about. But then, the TV was just on a loop. The fucking podium speeches and all the fear porn, etc. It was enough to get a lot of people getting fearful. But then you had, as you mentioned, the people that they were sounding a bit dodgy, but just for the sake of it, like irrespective of how much you went out to your protests, in London or Glasgow, whatever it was, right? It all meant fuck all, because for every one of you, there was 40 people who knew that they were sounding a bit dodgy, but went along with it anyway. They are the problem. They always were.
Oh, here, I'll tell you what disappeared. The numbers for the gun clinics. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, you get the figures of the amount of people that visited a gun clinic for sexually transmitted diseases. How many people got tested? How many people tested positive for which different disease? Which would, and you could probably narrow that down by area as well. Right, UK as a whole, England, Scotland. Well, England and Wales normally gets done as one. Scotland, Northern Ireland. Now, those figures disappeared because do you know how many people should have been attending any of those clinics during that pandemic, and the clinics did stay open? Not one, because you weren't supposed to be meeting new people. You're supposed to be 6 feet away from anybody, not your immediate family. There should have been absolutely zero people getting tested. And I think it continued pretty much the way it had been. I think the numbers are probably quite the same. And if you allow that to come out, then they know that there was a very, very large subset of people who carried on as per normal. And for the love of God, did nobody ever just once think about the poor swingers?
But I used to say stuff like that as well, though, when I first started making videos on this in 2020, because I said I wasn't one of these channels that right from the start called it out for what it was, because I was on the fence, and those videos are still there for anybody that wants to go. The video where I changed my mind and started to call it out as bullshit, still there. And I remember what it was that convinced me otherwise. It was the announcement that they were giving doctors the ability to declare somebody dead and say it was COVID, despite the fact they hadn't tested them or anything of that nature, but it was just if they showcased COVID symptoms. But by that point, it was common knowledge that COVID symptoms were identical to pneumonia and the flu, etc. So they were flubbing the stats. Anyway, I started to fucking just pull apart their narrative using, like, as Ben Shapiro would say, facts and logic, because they only had, like, these pricks standing at podiums, like Sturgeon or Boris Johnson or Drakeford, right? Standing at the podiums repeating whatever the fuck it says on their script. They only have the assumption or the assertion that their words will be enough to get people to comply. But for all they know, the vast majority or large swathes of the population weren't complying. So, for example, in the Highlands, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, the vast majority of the people down in Edinburgh and Glasgow listened to Thin Lips, all listened to what she said. But people in the Highlands, en masse or at large, a majority, went, fuck you, I'll do what I want, right? Sturgeon would be none the wiser. Nobody would be any the wiser whether or not these people had complied. But when there was no spread after as I say, in the Highlands, I don't know if you're following me. It made sense when I said it in my videos. People in the Highlands, hypothetically, nobody followed the rules, but it wasn't made sturgeon and whatnot, they didn't know that this was occurring, but yet there was no spread. That would instantaneously start to eviscerate the narrative. You know, they only had, because you know what would have happened if it was then brought to sturgeon's attention in this hypothetical scenario that the Highlanders were not complying. Just like that, click of a finger, there'd be a spread. A spread had emerged in the Highlands. But you know what I mean? And the reason that I would say that is because a lot of the people that I associated with back then, and a lot of people that I knew, even if I didn't associate with them, didn't bother following the rules. And guess what? None of us caught COVID. But if Sturgeon ever caught wind that we'd been breaking fucking rules and doing what we wanted, guarantee there would have been a spread that emerged from somewhere in that trail. You know? They had to go with the assumption that everybody was following their rules, but there's plenty of people that weren't, and yet spreads didn't emerge.
Yep, totally agree. Totally agree. You know, it just beggars belief how many people went along with it, but
And it just started getting stupid. I remember making a video, I think it was 2021, where like Thin Lips just, like, it was really annoying me at the time, because you will remember the articles and like the headlines all saying that like Sturgeon had become like the most listened to and trusted politician across the UK because of her response to COVID, despite the fact all she did was implement the same shit Boris Johnson did, but 3 weeks later. But she really started taking the piss. Like when the Tories started to announce that they were sort of easing up on restrictions. Oh no, not little Miss Boca. She started to implement them harder. You know, the govern me harder daddy routines kicked in. But they even released a publication called The Scottish Government's Guide to COVID Etiquette. Like, I don't get it. Like, I fucking get it. It's like, what the fuck? Like, we're just taking the absolute piss out of people here. And every time she appeared at her podium, I mean, she was morphing into a god. You know, people was like, it was almost as if it was like a family get together. Let's have our dinner and watch Sturgeon at her podium. You know, and she was just taking the piss. A COVID etiquette guide. I mean, where else have you heard of that shit? Wait a minute. COVID etiquette. Like. Etiquette. There we go. There's it. Got it. Look at this. It's even worse than I fucking remembered it. My internet's so bad, I think the signal emits from Sturgeon's skin. Wait, do you see the headline for this? It's actually worse than I remember. Oh my god. I mean, just talk about mockery. But yet people in this fucking country lap this shit up. You know, and each and every single one of them, I hope they took a Moderna. Here we go. Look at this shit. The COVID Guide to Etiquette and Pandemic Politeness.
Right, you ready for me to share this, mate?
I didn't realize this was a freedom of information, but I mean that was the document, because I remember making a video on it. The COVID Guide to Etiquette and Pandemic Politeness. I'll get that up. Wait, if I just do this, it should come up. Wait a minute. There we go. I've got it. So I don't know if you can see the screen now, but I'll stop sharing again. But yeah, there's pandemic politeness. You know what I mean? Wait, share screen again. Quickly, sorry. Chrome tabby. Right, that should be. Is it that one or that one? There we go. Sound.
All right. Yes, I see it now.
Fuck's sake. Or is it the one below it? There we go. Pandemic politeness. You know?
What the fuck is that
How to handle awkward situations. Oh, that's her hijab, I think, is it? No, it's her hair.
No,
But
it's
aye.
a blue nose ring, bloody demonic trans movement hairstyle.
A feminist, eh? Scottish nationalist. But what should you do if your friend runs in for a hug or someone stands way too close to you? If you experience an awkward social interaction during the pandemic, you're not alone. Research has found that over 80% of people have felt awkward when trying to follow the rules. You know, this is what I'm like, just fucking stupid shit. The COVID guides to etiquette and pandemic politeness, a modern, light-hearted twist on traditional etiquette guides, has been developed to support people. Fuck. You know, and then it's the underpinning principles of the tips. Let's get to them. Assume the best, plan ahead, make an offer, a polite decline is fine, walk away and report if necessary. What to do if a stranger in the supermarket is too close, if someone gets too close on public transport, someone's delivering something to or working in your house. You know, I mean, just talk about infantilizing a populace, you know? It's just fucking nonsense. A virtual hug. I mean, I still want to hug you, but I guess we have to wait until it's safe. I don't want to risk harming you or anyone else you were in contact with. I'm giving you a virtual hug. Fast forward a year though, and when all the gays got alleged monkeypox, that was fine. No, bum away, lads. That's fucking fine. Yeah. So while you were all getting away with a slight ease to your rules. Oh no, not here. Tyrant Thinlips was fresh out of lip Botox and decided, well, today's the day I'm going to release an etiquette guide. Yeah. But we
I remember
Pirate Thin Lips.
fucking little cow.
Yep. I remember at some stage, because my local Tesco, most people were not wearing a mask. My local corner shops, nobody was wearing a mask. And then Tesco's of their own volition put somebody on the front door to hand out free masks to people. And I walked past them as I just walked on into the shop and said exempt and carried on. But it went from the shop being, say, 65-70% unmasked to 90 plus masked, just because Tesco's put some fucking minimum wage employee at the front door. And whenever you look at whenever I had a really good look at the Northern Ireland rules on masks and exemptions, and no doctor involved. No, if you decided you were exempt, you were exempt. If you decided you weren't exempt, you weren't. That you could drive you could drive 3 fucking buses through it. And so I just walked past and said exempt. They weren't allowed to ask you what your exemption was. They weren't allowed to ask anything about it. And I'm surprised.
You did get some total job worth dicks, like, you know.
Yeah, I did, but I had a printout of the rules that said that she was not allowed to ask me what my exemption was, and although I never actually had to put it out, and then I go in that Tesco's that often that everybody at work there was just used to seeing me walking around with a mask, and they've assumed that there was something, but it's fucking mad.
It was overnight, as you say. I hear when they announced it was mandatory, like everybody in Tesco's, because I live near a Tesco's as well. Everybody in Tesco's was wearing it except me.
In Tesco's, after it was mandatory for a good while, there was most of the people in my local Tesco's were not doing it. It was only whenever they put Tesco's themselves put somebody in the front door.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. And then that's when it switched.
Well, all I will say is you remember, because they all went through that bloody Tesco's were particularly fond of it, where they went through that stage where they put traffic lights on the door.
Yes.
Remember that shit, yeah? And I remember this is a true story, right? And this was at I've got how many Tesco's I've got near me? I'm equidistant between two, but this is probably the nearest one to me. And when they started implementing that, the social distancing, where you could only go in one way, you had to be in orderly fashion. They had somebody saying, "Yes, you can come in now," and they had the old traffic light systems on and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and 6 feet away from a person in front of you.
yeah, exactly. All that bullshittery. Yeah. And you knew, just as DJ was saying, you knew that half the fuckers knew it was bullshit, but they just went along with it anyway. Yeah. And I used to stand there barefaced, and I didn't get any grief. In fairness, I can't remember. I didn't get any grief, not off anybody, because I'm certain they're all thinking the same. This is bullshit. But one incident that sticks in my mind was brilliant, because there was this bloke, right? And I'm a big dinner, I am a fat fucker. But this fella, he took the biscuit when it came to being fat. He made it a fucking life's ambition. And it honestly was like a medicine ball with two little fucking feet. But so you got this bloke, right? And he's got all the masks on and fucking visor and a mask, yeah? Visor, mask, and gloves, the gloves. And he's literally getting, because when they had those blue kitchen roll type things, like the surgical kitchen roll type things, and he's literally spraying the entirety of this fucking trolley with the alcohol hand solution stuff.
Yep.
But he's blocking the doorway, so nobody can go
Yep.
in anyway. Yeah, so he stood in this doorway, pissing around, right? And honest to God, this bloke just not in any queue, just rocks up to the front door in a suit, done up, proper businessman looking like.
Yep.
Ordinarily, you think twat, but in this instance, I give him a pass. But he's like all businessed up and everything, and he literally just barges his way past this fucking fat boy, and this bloke, this dude, social distancing, right? And he like went off it, and this bloke, honestly, he wasn't the other fellow. He wasn't young himself. He must have been, well, I'm assuming 50s, but he could have been older, because he looked after himself, because he cut quite the dash. He was a good-looking bloke, but he was quite, and he just turned around in this really sort of posh, sort of cut glass accent, and he just turned around to this fat bap and he says, "Address me again like that again. Address me like that again, sir, and the virus will be the least of your problems." It was absolutely magical, yeah. And this fucker, he just went bright red and just waddled off. He didn't even go in the shop. So I inherited this absolutely pristine trolley, because I was right behind him. And I thought, yeah, that is magic. So I that was one of the most funny moments I'd ever seen. And like everybody in the queue was laughing. So they knew it was all a load of bullshit anyway, but they were these compliant fuckers who were worse than the ones who actually believed it, than the bloke who was in front of me, pissing around with these hand gels and that, wiping down the entirety of his trolley. But it was really good, because, like I say, this fella walks past this, like I say, older fella, not a spring chicken or an arsey sort of toad sort of thing. He just turned on this bloke and goes, "Address me like that again, sir, and the virus will be the least of your problems." And I just go, "Yes, go on, fucking have it." It's like, really.
Oh,
Do you know what used to fucking wind me up the most was when people would say to me, and you even see it now on occasion, they'll be like, even sometimes, not limited to, but there'll be the odd time when I'd be at work or whatever, and there'd be people that you would think were sort of on the same wavelength. They didn't believe COVID was real, but then, like, a week would go by or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, my cousin came down with COVID, eh?" Or other people would be like, "Oh, I'm just recovering from COVID." I'm like, "How do you know you had COVID?" "Oh, because I had the symptoms." It's like, "What symptoms did you have?" And they're rattling off the same symptoms that, if COVID wasn't a thing that was in the mainstream media and the newspapers and whatnot in the public consciousness, you would never have assumed you had COVID. You would have assumed you'd come down with something. But because COVID is all that anybody ever talks about, That's what you must have. What? Because the flimsy test told you had COVID, therefore you must have had COVID. Like, it really fucking annoys me. And I remember when swine flu was allegedly doing the rounds in primary school. When I was in primary school, I came down with swine for about a week, and I did as a kid. I assumed I must have swine flu because that was the in thing at the time, and that's what people are doing now. Oh, COVID's real because I had it. Eh? How do you know you fucking had it? Because you had flu-like symptoms in winter. Guess what, buddy? You had the flu, eh? Oh no, I had COVID, eh? How do you know? Well, you don't know, do you? Fucking, it's unreal.
Here's the other thing. See, with like, I was going to a restaurant for Christmas, and I had to have either a vaccination or a negative test. We went to the chemist, and they gave me the test for free. And it turns out that the test thing has got a number on it, and what you need to do is send the number of that individual test in a text to the NHS, with it either being positive or negative. So within 3 minutes, I had a text message from the government saying I had a negative result for a test I didn't even fucking take. Now, if you're genuinely worried about a biological hazard, you don't allow that to happen. All tests would be done in person. If you're genuine about it.
There's a lot of things they would have did if they were genuine about it.
Yeah.
You know? Another example of that is the COP26. You know?
Yeah.
They got away with it at the time because this was before they started to backpedal on the efficacy of the vaccines. So at the time, it was safe and effective, 100% safe and effective. You take that, you're safe. So questions were starting to be asked as to why all these pricks were meeting up at COP26, flying from all over the world in their CO2 emitting planes to talk about CO2. But this was in the midst of a pandemic, apparently, and not one of them caught COVID. There was no spread of COVID after the event, and questions got asked to Sturgeon in Parliament, and she was talking away with her head bobbing and that, freshly gelled and trimmed, and she was sitting there saying, "Oh, it's because we're all vaccinated, right?" But you fast forward a couple of months, like that would have made sense if the vaccines were allegedly 100% safe and effective. It's only about 2 months later we then found out they're about 80% effective. Then we fast forward to a year later, they don't really fucking work at all. You need to keep topping up every couple of months. Therefore, it should have stood to reason that after COP26, there should have been some mass fucking spreading event that never occurred. Why? Because at the time, the vaccines were 100% safe and effective. So it's funny how when the narrative, as long as the narrative is in place, then that's all that matters. Because Sturgeon did the same thing as well. Just as the mask rules were about to be lifted in Scotland, she got caught out going down to the King's funeral. Not the King, what's his fucking name? The Queen's husband. What was his name?
Prince Philip.
Aye. She went down there with that gay husband of hers. Because England.
I'll tell you now, Phil wasn't gay.
No,
I know.
I'm on about Peter Murray. Like they two went down to the funeral, right, at Westminster Abbey. But in England, the rules on the masks had been dropped. But in Scotland, they were still mandatory, right? So she was photographed down there without her fucking mask on and all this. But then she came back up to Scotland to tell us all that we had to extend the use of mask wearing for another 2 to 3 weeks because masks really do work. Well, then she was questioned as to if you genuinely believe that masks are safe and effective and the efficacy is as strong as you say they are, why were you pictured down in England without a face mask on? Is it because the rules were dropped in England but they weren't dropped in Scotland? She turned around and said, "Oh, well, I followed the rules in the train." That was her response. So as long as the narrative, just because the rules were dropped in England, the virus was still apparently prevalent, but the rules were dropped. That's all that was required. So it's fucking stupid. The word is law.
Yep. Hold on, we'll just finish off this story. I'll need to call off. AJ, every Christmas, Emma G and I go out for a Christmas dinner the week before Christmas with my dad and my sister. That's just one of our traditional things. So I had to get a test result for that, but I mean, it was fine. But there you go. But yeah, rules. This is the other thing we haven't studied health and safety. That's an absolute bollocks. Rules that are designed for actual safety and they're consistent and they're the same across every site. And they might change because something's inside, something's outside. They might change with a bit of traffic flow and be slightly different and whatnot. But the way we had fucking different rules in different places and that changed arbitrarily due to the time of day or night or whatever, and swapped that many times, that is all the signs of ideologues and fucking jobs worth rule makers picking out what to do as opposed to it being based on anything, any actual risk. You couldn't do risk assessments like that. It wouldn't work.
No. And if they were genuinely following the fucking science and whatnot, then when proof started to emerge that the masks were ineffective and the rules played no difference, despite their best efforts to try and insist that they did, you would have thought they would have started to backpedal. They never did, though. They just pretended that these counter arguments even existed. You know, to this day, they still pretend that masks and lockdowns work. That's why I don't know if it's the same where you are or where you are, but in Scotland, they've got the COVID rules effectively permanent now, so they can implement them whenever they want. You know, another lockdown because they worked last time. How do we know they worked? Because they said they worked.
I'll tell you what. Everything seems to be pretty much back to normal where I am. What I will say is I had to go up to my dad's doctor to collect a prescription. He wasn't well just before Christmas. And whenever I arrived at his doctor's practice, there was a sign on the door that said you need to wear a mask. And as much as I don't like them, I do have a bit of me that is, if I definitely have to get a fucking prescription from my dad, which I definitely had to do, and the rule is you have to wear a mask, I was going to do it. So I sort of stuck my head in through the door and called the receptionist. Do you have masks here? I don't have one with me. He says, oh no, it's an old sign. You can just come on in. You know, so we still have some signage, or either it's supposed to be in place there and it's just not enforced. I don't know, but everything here is pretty much back to the way it is. Although we have declared a climate emergency, and I'm not ruling out climate lockdowns.
No. And I mean, they've already trashed up many town centres anyway with their fucking nonsense. They did it in Inverness. I think they did it in a few other parts of Scotland as well. Where they made, because I remember the articles are on my Telegram channel from at the time, but initially in Inverness anyway, the town centre, it was two-way, like most roads are, but they made it one way. And their excuse was that they were doing so because they needed to create space outside shops for people to be able to social distance. So they needed space on the road. So they moved one of the lanes. So it was one way everywhere. Then they put signs up everywhere saying road layout change for COVID. Then they fast forward like 6 months, right? By this point, that lane was created for people to socially distance had turned into a bike lane. With bollards everywhere. They had signs everywhere saying road layout change, even more signs. Well, the fucking traffic lights have been updated to now incorporate underneath the green light a bike light. And then the Highland Council announced that the temporary measures that they put into place for the safe social distancing procedures, they were now going to make permanent because it helped to reduce emissions on our fight against climate change. Almost as if, now hear me out here, boys, hear me out. Almost as if all the shit from the fucking start has been the kickstart, the kick up the arse, metaphorically speaking, to begin climate proceedings, you know?
Well, there's been 3 or 4 million miles of cycle lane put in for COVID restrictions that are not going away.
Exactly.
That's across Europe. It's something like 4 million miles of bike lane has been put in to prevent COVID-19. which is now going to be there permanently
Yeah,
because
and I know about
apparently,
it as well. Even before the Build Back Better stuff, right? Most people, to their credit, picked up on quite quickly. One thing they fucking forgot to pick up on, which I noticed pretty quickly, and I posted it quite often on my Telegram back in 2020. If you've got the patience, just type in sustainable on my channel and go all the way back to 2020. You'll see it yourself. Within a matter of weeks, one of the first fucking things, even before the Build Back Better routine started from everyone, Sturgeon and the SNP, etc., in the Scottish Parliament kept going on about, oh, we don't know how long this pandemic's going to last for, but we do know one thing. The other side of it, we're going to have a green, sustainable, fair recovery. And this was repeated over and over and over and over again. So they don't know the dangers of this alleged deadly virus. They don't know how long this could go on for years. This could wipe out half the population. Who gives a fuck? As long as one thing is put in motion after the fact, that is that we have a green, sustainable recovery. How fucking convenient is that? Then you fast forward to, oh, we've got the vaccine now, and we've got COVID on the run. Now it's time to start implementing our green recovery. The same green recovery that they've been talking about at the very start. Yeah, it's almost, and again, I'll just repeat, it's almost as if, now hear me out, boys, it's always about climate change to begin with. Just saying.
Ludwig, all that perspex is there to make sure we don't forget.
Aye.
Yeah, all the perspex barriers that are still up at the supermarkets and shop trolleys and stuff, that's just there to make sure you don't forget.
I mean, COVID knew, though, that it couldn't, alleged some, depending on who you spoke to, some people would say it was airborne, but it knew it was a very clever virus, but it didn't know how to jump over the
around
plexiglass, it was that was fucked then.
Yeah, it came to plexiglass, it just went away.
Well, I was just saying in the chat there, because when you were talking about the person, I just said there, I used to love, especially if we were in a checkout and there was somebody on the checkout who wasn't wearing a mask, but one of those idiot visors on. That the plastic visor things. I used to love saying, so I'd sort of get me shop, do the old money transfer thing, and then say, it's really good that the virus can't get underneath that virus with them big gaps in it and everything. Anyway, I'll catch you later. And used to see that eyes literally swivel like, hold on a minute. Yeah, it can't get underneath this. It's like, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Before you, I don't know what you're planning on doing with the stream, but since I'm not streaming, I do hope that we're going to cover that feminist shit in Scotland. And I just know it's on the StreamYard as well. It's got a funny music video to play.
DJ, mate. Sorry, Freud, I was just going to say, DJ, there's no stopping us doing Tutor in the Saxon R8 on a Sunday, That's the best place for all the SMP bullshit, because you're like the most knowledgeable on all of that caper. And like I say, you haven't been streaming, but if you're available, then we might as well rekindle that. You know what I mean?
Right. Here, DJ, is there...
I don't know about tomorrow night, though, because fucking the Royal Rumble's on the night.
Right.
So, sorry, because Toffee's back on the market now. He's recovering from his fucking accident. Poor bugger. We could do the Triumvirate of Truth, because like I say, that 8:30 slot's still free now, isn't it? Because it doesn't look like Scott's is going to come back anytime soon.
Right. No. DJ, which topic was it you wanted? Is it the Scotland's teaching union provide support to tackle extreme misogyny? Was that it?
Obviously, I uploaded a video and talking about it in Parliament as well earlier on.
Right.
I could play a bit of that as well, but in the chat that we've got, I sent screenshots of the publication.
Oh, right. Yes. Hold on 1 second.
It's just fucking nonsense. It's one of those things where they keep redefining words, so obviously racism means, well, whatever they want it to mean, climate change, whatever. But fucking misogyny is another one they've done this with. And it's really annoying. You'll see it yourself. But right. I mean, some of the fucking examples they give of misogyny are just retarded.
Which one do you want up
Yeah,
first? Do you want the link, or do you want the pictures?
The article first. I mean, you don't have to read the
Right.
entirety of it, but it's just
Right.
to give
Okay.
people a bit of backstory
Yes.
because they're using Andrew Tate as their excuse for this shit.
Right. Okay. I had that slated for getting done anyway. So right, find that percent. Share the screen.
I'm just going to get the clip up as well from the empowerment
Yep.
for after.
Here we go. Oh, I've just noticed there's something in the private chat as well. 1 second, I check that. Okay. Back to comments. Right. Now, I'm going to zoom that in just a little.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching union provides support to tackle extreme misogyny in classrooms. The EIS say teachers are looking for resources to discuss Andrew Tate in their classroom and to foster greater resilience against harmful online misogyny. Andrew fucking Tate.
Exactly.
Scotland's biggest teaching union have issued advice to teachers to help combat extremist online misogyny. It comes following the rise in popularity of misogynistic social media personalities, including Andrew Tate, who previously argued women should be held accountable for sexual assault. Tate is currently being held by police in Romania as part of an investigation into a case of human trafficking and rape. The Romanian authorities have got a slight problem because the people that he supposedly trafficked and raped are saying that he did not traffic them and rape them. He currently has 4.7 million followers on Twitter. On Friday, the EIS teaching union said many teachers are looking for ways to combat harmful extremist misogyny in the classroom. Guidance entitled Get It Right for Girls, initially produced by the union in 2019, provides resources to support schools to meet their legal obligation to promote equality and tackle sex discrimination. The union said the EIS is aware that many teachers will be looking for resources on how to discuss Andrew Tate in their classroom and to foster greater resilience against harmful online misogyny. The EIS is clear that the consequences of misogyny are far-reaching and intrinsically connected to women's inequality and violence against women and girls, which is endemic in our society. It is therefore crucial that misogyny and gender inequality are proactively tackled. I've got one thing to say on this, which is I've been involved in men's rights stuff since 2012. I keep abreast the manosphere, and I had no fucking clue who Andrew Tate was until a couple of months ago whenever he was arrested. And I don't know how these children in classrooms would have been exposed to his stuff.
This is the thing, though, eh? Like that bottom paragraph that you just said out there, like it's just another example of opportunism, you know?
Yep.
Because it's just Scottish academia as it stands is already heavily politicized, right? That goes without saying. And there's already a heavy push for feminist shit that seems to be like a plague taking over the early learning sector, where, you know, nursery and like early child, like primary school years, etc. All this gender friendly nonsense and gender stereotype eradication, etc., etc., etc. But they are using this shit with Andrew Tate as an excuse to go further, you know, because of that's what the redefined words, you know, misogyny, etc. But when you go on to see how they define misogyny, you start to realize that yet again it's disparities. Not enough girls going to maths and STEM. That's because of misogyny. We need to do more to tackle misogyny. How do we tackle misogyny? What's the gender stereotypes? You know, this is what I want. It's just the same shit. But I've got a clip here, right? I'll play. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just so you get a fucking a wee idea of how these fannies in our parliament are talking about this thing.
Just before you get on that, I want to address Ludwig's point. It can be a blowhard, but it's said a lot of base stuff about the establishment. Now, what's really interesting is they knew that Tate's business model is he runs OnlyFans accounts for women. He's basically a pornographer. I don't like the sound of the dude, but also don't think he's actually done anything illegal. But they have knew about his cam girl thing going on for years, and it's only whenever he started to talk about Greta Thunberg and Ukraine that they went and arrested him. And I think this arrest has got a lot more to do with that than it has for him being a basically more successful version of Rolo Tomasi.
Oh, and like there was like 4 allegations of fucking like rape or trafficking or whatever, and 2 out of the 4 have already come out and said a load of shit, and they're friends with him. So,
yeah, I think actually all 4 of them have.
There is videos though. I've seen a video of him, but this is the thing though. I seen a video of him a few weeks ago where he was battering fuck at a Balassi. But then a video emerged after the fact that I seen last week, another video off her phone where it was explained that she links it rough. Now, I don't know if she was coerced into making that fucking video while he was sat next to her or whatever, but it did not look like that was some sort of rough, kinky foreplay. It looked like he was slapping her about. But I don't fucking know. But regardless, for people that sit there and say that, and this is no disrespect to whoever that was in the chat, but he doesn't say anything that I haven't said. The only difference is I'm not bald and I'm not a millionaire. That's the only difference. He he's not said anything that I haven't said before, or Sensum hasn't said before, or even Clive, the dulcet toned Ouija, said before. So to be honest, the only reason that it appears as if he says phenomenal things and he comes away with base and red-pilled hot takes is because he's got fucking infamy. That's it.
Yeah, he's become infamous now. But I'm not a fan of the OnlyFans stuff either. But whether or not he has raped and people traffic people into doing it, I doubt that.
I don't know. But yeah, so I'll play it. Wait a minute, let me get this up.
Right, hold on. Did you say you have a video you wanted to put up?
It's just regarding this, but I mean, it's 5 minutes, but I'm only going to play like a minute of that. Just the fucking waffle these fannies coming out with. I'm just getting this bit up. Here. Okay. All right. Mute my mic first, actually.
Yeah, that's what happened. What they said was they were able to make money because Tate ran their account for them. It turns out running OnlyFans is a lot complicated, and you need to interact with their viewers, and they employ blokes in India to do all their tax and stuff for it, and Tate organised all that allowed her to make a shitload of money.
EIS guidance of online misogyny and young people on platforms. Will government make further resources available to ensure all teachers have access to equality and diversity training, which explicitly includes content on gender equality, tackling misogyny, and addresses violence against women and girls?
Cabinet Secretary. Well, I welcome the ongoing commitment and work by the EIS and indeed other unions on this important issue, but I hope I can reassure Katie Clark in as much as we already have resources assist teachers. One resource for rshp.scot contains lesson plan activity resources and information for parents and carers to help them reinforce the messages at home. As the member would expect, this in an age-appropriate fashion going through a child's education. And we are, of course, again, looking to see what more needs to be done in this area. There's been the review of PSE, personal and social education, which had recommendations about what more could be done. Good progress is being made on recommendations, but I would agree with the member, there is absolutely no room for complacency on this. Misogyny is a societal problem that we have, and as schools being part of our society, it's important that they play a role in that, ensure that both young women and men support and learning which they should have to allow them, as I said in my original answer, to make informed and educated decisions.
So obviously that goes on a bit more. As I say, it was like 5 minutes fucking long, but effectively the premise of the video, and you kind of you've seen it there for yourself. There's just this a wee circle jerk about what more can be done to further feminize our already heavily dominated by feminism educational system. But then I had a wee look at the publication that was they made reference to, and like their definitions of misogyny with the school being the context. I mean, you've got it in the chat there if you want to pop it up. Like, it's just fucking stupid. Absolute nonsense. They use the old word, but they've redefined or modernized the definition, you know?
Boss, can't imagine millions of girls and women around the world can get a decent living showing their goods.
Plenty do.
See on YouTube, the sort of like 25 to 30 best earning super chats are ASMA girls, and then you have Tim Pool, and then you have another 150 odd women. The amount of money there is in that is fucking huge.
And then even like what's that fucking Twitch? Is it Twitch? Twitch is really, it used to be a website for people to stream games, but the vast majority of the top streamers now are lassies that play games with their tits hanging out.
Yep, that's exactly it. And they have now moved to doing bits and pieces in hot tubs because Twitch brought out a rule that you could only wear a bikini if you were on a beach or in a hot tub. So we've moved those to a lot of the hot tub streams. The amount of money in this from simps, which simp stands for sucker idolizing mediocre pussy, but the amount of money there is in this is off the fucking charts, mate.
I mean, even OnlyFans itself, you sometimes see these stories where the papers glorify it. You know, it'll be some fucking lassie going on about how I left my job at McDonald's and now I make 30k a month. Just by showing fucking, you know, a bit in the bath or whatever. It's fucking all right for some, but damning indictment of society, though, in many respects. You can sit and chastise the lassies all you want for stripping off and doing whatever they're doing to themselves for a bit of money, but at the end of the day, they'd be doing it for fuck all. People want paying for it.
The other thing is, like, there's people that are paying X amount per month to get on to a certain level, which entitles them to 5 texts per week or whatever fucking pictures. All those texts are coming from fucking people in India that's employed to do all their interactions.
Probably. Yeah. I know a fucking a guy I used to work with on an old job. It was only Homer's like, but he was like, he's fucking obsessed. He's like a wee nymph, which is weird. But most of it's in his head as opposed to him actually being a very sexually active man. But anyway, point is he was signed up to quite a few lassies from Inverness who had OnlyFans, but they never ever showed their face. So I don't know who these girls are, but like, fucking remarkable how many just in Inverness there are. You know, but he had the special package where he got like one custom video a month off one of these girls. You know, so I don't think it's just a case of getting a few texts from a babe in India. You can get like personalized videos in that, but I start commenting that who the hell's paying for porn? Exactly. Like, first and foremost, OnlyFans accounts get leaked all the time, right? So if you're that desperate to find out what somebody's up to, just type their name in and type leaked at the back of it. Or better yet, not desperate, just go and watch free porn.
Right, but
It's-
hold on, they're not actually paying for the porn. They
It's
pay
the
their
production,
they,
isn't it, 42?
right. They pay their 50 quid or whatever it is for the girls in the hot tub to write their name, the person's name on their skin with a black marker, and they get to see the girl typing their name on, writing their name on the skin, and that's what they're paying for. They're paying for the personalized interaction.
Yeah,
But a
they're
lot
paying
of,
for the interaction. Yeah, that's exactly what
Yeah.
it is.
but the personalized interaction is a lot of it is being done through email and text, and a lot of that stuff's outsourced. Because if you're getting 7,000 text messages you're supposed to reply to a day, I don't think you're doing that yourself.
No, but on the video side, like I say,
Yeah.
they get famous people on there as well, because one of the most, or certainly in this country, one of the most famous OnlyFans sort of women is Kerry Katona. She's on there.
What?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
No.
Kerry
I did not
Katona's
know
on
that.
there,
Fucking
and she gets paid, hundreds of pounds to take her clothes off, but she gets paid thousands of pounds to put them back on. So, no, but unironically, yes, she is on OnlyFans. Yeah, Kerry
know that.
Katona. She doesn't shy away from that fact, because she's made she made far more money. Put it this way, she's made far more money being like a semi-famous OnlyFans woman with a boatload of simps who are easily parted from the money than what she ever did in the music industry.
It's just fucked up though in that respect that they can kind of brush it off, because at the end of the day you're a slut if you're doing that shit.
Yeah,
but I'm sorry you are, but it can be yeah, I might be a slut, but look at the money I'm making. Like, it's just kind of sad.
It is.
Every
But I
single
mean,
action on whether or not an action could be justified if it earns you enough money.
yeah.
That's
But
fine.
the thing
Well,
is, DJ, right? We
but
all know
what about
you're
the
the only person who subscribes to Nicola Sturgeon's OnlyFans, so you can't talk.
Oh, I know,
but-
because I watch Shag at it.
what about the OnlyFans gendered pay gap?
Well, I'm sure there's a gay community on OnlyFans, eh?
Yes, but there has to be a fucking huge gender pay gap there, and what OnlyFans women are making compared to OnlyFans men,
Oh, probably.
even with the gay people included.
Probably. And I know
Yeah.
the exact same explanation to explain that could be used for any other fucking industry where that alleged pay gap exists.
Yeah, porn. Yeah, the gay porn gap is fucking epic.
I wouldn't know.
No, the women get paid. The women get paid big money for porn. The men do not.
Aye. Well, yeah, I can believe that. Because men are paying a penny, yeah. Fucking.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I mean, fuck it. I can understand why you would do that. Why have a shitty 9-to-5 job where you can get your tits out and or do whatever you want to do yourself or with a partner or whatever a couple of times a week and make 10 grand, fucking 20 grand a month. I can see why people would be inclined to do it. But I'm sorry, you're still a slag.
Oh, have you ever heard of the thought audit?
The way?
The thought.
audit.
Yeah.
No.
Right. Right. You're aware of the term thought, THOT. Right, that over there. Well, on what's the American big day come before Christmas? Independence Day? Is it? No, Thanksgiving.
Aye.
The day after Thanksgiving and the day Boxing Day, what people do is they find their local thought and report them to the tax office. Right. This person's on OnlyFans. You need to have a look and see, did they declare this? That's called the thought audit. It started about 2016 and it has grew every year. there's all these men that have got fuck all to do on Thanksgiving Day, fuck all to do on Boxing Day, and that's what they do. They do the thought audit and declare all these women for tax, and that has been quite funny.
I mean, no, yeah, it's I don't know. Like, that's kind of sad, though. Really, you know. Sure, there's plenty of other things you could be doing with your time than fucking that. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really any better than a grass, to be honest. And that brings us full circle to what I said at the start. I have to be careful what I'm saying in case, the felons watching, eh?
Well, what happened? What was happening after the thought audits was the girls were shutting down their accounts, and the simps that had paid fucking $700 or £700 for a lifetime membership were crying like babies because the person who was not just a content creator but also their friend, they suddenly couldn't get in touch with them.
That's the fucking sad part about these people, because I mean, they get into a position where they fucking believe that they throw a woman a bit of money and that woman's into them. I mean, the same routine. I've never been to a strip club, but I know a boy who went to a strip club who spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds on this one stripper because she appeared into him, and she even claimed to him that she would meet him after her shift and stuff. So he was throwing her money all fucking night, totally deluded, because that's what they do. That's how they earn their money, eh? Yeah, of course, they're going to pretend that they're into you to get more money out of you. But these people fall for it.
Yeah, but he was that stupid. He didn't even decide to buy her phone number off her.
I don't. You didn't have a hope in fucking hell. Have you ever seen a photo? You know what I'm all about. Like,
but the problem is the men that are doing this need to get themselves a set of fucking personal standards.
Yeah. If any, as I say, it's a sort of damning indictment of society, because I'd hate to be a young man. I mean, I still am young, but I'd hate to be a fucking young man now, because it just seems to be ever more normal for shit like that to be the norm, where people ain't forming relationships anymore. And quite a lot of young guys are simping for thoughts on Twitch or OnlyFans, etc., as opposed to actually having a real girlfriend. You know, at least when I was in school, I had a few girlfriends and I was a bit of a dirty boy back in the day. Like, why? You know, I had my fun, but that isn't the norm now. It's really not.
It's a sad indictment, and where this needs to start is with young boys in school getting personal standards.
Yeah. And they're not going to get that in an education system that's becoming ever more feminized.
That has been told to fucking get rid of all the misogyny. And generally speaking, those people will class pretty much anything that's not pro-female as misogyny.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hear the term misogyny, your mind instantly goes to the dictionary definition of it, which is seeing women or holding women with contempt. But when you see how they've redefined it, it all becomes clear. It's the same with the word equality. When you hear the word inequality, you just assume things ain't equal. That's not what these pricks are after. They're after equity, you know. But they use that's what I mean. They just redefine words. Racism, another one. Dictionary definition, and then there's the 2023 definition.
The working definition is applying equal standards to both people. That's if you apply the same standard to a boy and a girl in school, that's misogynistic.
Yep. Which I don't know if you've got that stuff up, but it was just to show the bullet points of like the examples of misogyny in school.
All right, I get that now. You
don't have to read all of it. It's just you'll see the bullet points. I think it's one of the last screenshots that I posted.
All right, yes.
Some fucking examples. And bear in mind, this is for kids in school in Scotland.
I don't know how to share my fucking Telegram thing. I'm going to take a screenshot.
I'll do it.
Right.
Just let me get a Telegram up.
Find her. Right, hold on. I can get that one up. Share screen. I took a screenshot, so hopefully
Right.
this window.
If need be, though, as I say, I'm opening Telegram anyway. So
Right. Yep, that's it.
let me see.
Now, do you want me to blow this
Well,
up a bit?
let me see. Oh, if you can. I think that's the
Right.
one. Is that the right one? I don't know if that is
Policies and practice. Ethos, the curriculum.
Wait a minute. I can see what you've shared, but I'd have to compare it to what I actually shared to know if that's the one I was thinking of.
Right. Okay. If you can get it up in yours,
I'll there, but it takes a while on the laptop.
Right. If you get it from your Telegram,
That's fine. Just takes a fucking while to open up on the laptop. Oh, there we go. On. Okay. Right sound. Let me share the screen. Present. Fucking hell. Right.
Right.
Is it sharing?
Right. No, that looks like it's.
I've got the full screen open, so when it starts sharing, I'll just fire up Telegram.
Right.
I think that might be not one actually.
Toffee says this is theatre.
There.
Is,
I've got it. So, no, where was it? Fucking, it was examples of misogyny. Where the fuck is it?
Examples of.
Oh, there we go. Recognizing misogynistic attitudes and behavior, right? So, casual use of misogynistic language. Girly is an insult or pejorative term. Man up implying that masculinity is preferred to femininity. Casual, though often vindictive use of overtly sexualized and derogatory language, slat, skank, or whore were widely used against girls or women. Feminist and feminism considered as negative terms. Oh, that's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, feminazi used to. Sorry, what?
Yeah. Well, they are fucking feminazis.
Yeah. Well, there's feminazi used to silence women and girls who speak from a feminist perspective. So you can sort of read between the lines here of what they're doing. So they'll present the shit to kids in such a manner where it's like, oh, well, some people disparage feminism, but here's why feminism's a good thing. You know, so dismissive, contemptuous attitudes of some boys towards female pupils and staff and towards their mothers, and sometimes acceptance or endorsement by male staff of such attitudes. Objectification of women and girls on the basis of their looks, dismissive attitude that women and girls should have responsibility for menial domestic chores. We're talking about kids in school here. Mockery and derision when women and girls adopt non-stereotypical gender roles, for example, as football fans, footballers, or surgeons. Well, never bricklayers, though. Criticism of young women who are sexually active compared with acceptance that young men and or should be. Sexual entitlement issues arose in various guises. For example, overt sexual propositioning of girls and young women through to boys, pushing, grabbing, and groping of girls. Joking about the sexual abuse, often physical violence against women, girls, or framing conversations about the issue in such a way as to blame victims. That doesn't happen normally. Engagement with computer.
Hold on.
Right, what's that?
Violence against men is used in situation comedies and films, all that sort of stuff, as and put across as funny all the fucking time.
Yeah. Exactly, and pretty much every single thing that I've read out so far could be applicable to men, but when it happens to a man, it's not misandry. Just to finish off though, because this one down here is retarded. So engagement with computer games, engagement with computer games, which are demeaning in their portrayal of women and often normalize violence against women. So let's just hypothesize: we, Peter, the 15-year-old in school, is playing a game which is demeaning in its portrayal of women, and that is somehow deemed and defined as misogyny according to teachers in Scotland. Fucking hell. Sharing through social media sexual images of women and girls, either with or without consent. Oh, here's a wee way to stop that. Don't send nudes. And just to finish off, use of social media to target sexual innuendo at girls and young women. You know, when I was in school, though, as I said, I was a bit of a dirty dog. Like, I'm not going to fucking lie. I was a bit of a shagger when I was in, like, my early teens. I'm not proud of it, but, you know, there was plenty of girls that were exactly the same, you know? Like, they weren't innocent little angels that were just held back and oppressed by men. No, if anything, quite a lot of the girls that I knew were worse than the boys, you know? They would be going out at the weekend all dogged up so they can get into nightclubs and they would shag bouncers and whatnot, you know? Like, fucking... So any talk of, you know, sexualized innuendos, etc., that will be geared towards lassies who, I hate to sound a bit crass here, probably up for it, I'm not saying it's right, but that's the way society is, isn't it? Or was, anyway.
It is that's a pretty accurate description of how it is.
Well, I don't know about now, because it goes back to what I said about 10 minutes ago, where a lot of guys now, there is no sexual interactions. They'd rather pay for fucking OnlyFans. Well, back when I was in school, there's quite a lot of it, like.
Oh, and another reason for men paying for stuff on OnlyFans is they don't get a knock on the door from the police.
No.
And generally speaking, the difference between sexual harassment and flirting is, does the woman find the man attractive, suitable, valuable?
Yeah. There's probably a lot of men who borderline harass these women on all these platforms, but because they're partying with their cars, the lassies will just put up with it.
No, but it's not just that. They could. There's a lot of men that are currently worried about asking women out, saying anything even suggestive, because they end up with the police, and they definitely don't do it in work because they end up in human resources.
Yeah, true.
That's a nice dress you have on from somebody that the woman finds attractive is flirting. That's a nice dress you have on from somebody that they don't see as attractive or on their level or whatever. That's grounds for a complaint.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, and it's because the way that society is moving as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they feel more comfortable and more safe, you know, on the online world.
Yeah, well, do you know what? If they say you look sexy to an OnlyFans girl, they're not going to be getting any shit for it.
Aye. There was, though, because like, I know I just talked about me being a dirty dog, but I do have a missus now. My missus was telling me, I think it was yesterday, that there was recently, I think it was in Scotland, there was an OnlyFans star who goes to the gym regularly who was complaining that men in the gym were eyeing her up. Now, this is a lassie who strips naked and gets her fucking bits out gambling every night for a bit of money. It's not a problem then, but you take her to a gym where men stare at her arse, that's a problem. So,
Is this the same girl that
I haven't seen the
had her?
article. It was just my just told me.
There was a girl somewhere that put out a video about somebody sharing at her, and then it turned out she got a lot of flashback and she's withdrew her comments because it turned out she was hogging the equipment, and because she was taking that many photos and stuff, and there was a guy that was waiting to actually use that piece of equipment.
I don't know. I mean, surprised me. She just told me, I haven't seen the article there. She just told me on the phone about it. Well,
Yeah.
I just find it funny how the way that it was described to me is just a woman who can sit there every night and strip off naked after wearing some lingerie, can do that every night without a problem, but yet go to a gym and a guy stares at her arse when she's on the treadmill. That's grounds to go to a paper and complain about it. Fuck off.
A fella I work with was saying that there was a girl that goes to his gym was complaining about innuendo and comments on her Facebook page, and whenever you pulled up our Facebook page, our pictures were all, the tits were out, the skirt was barely past the fucking knickers. They were pictures from somebody that obviously wanted male attention.
Yeah.
And then she had a complaint that these pictures that were obviously designed for male attention.
See, that ties into what, one of the bullet points I read out there, though, because it's misogyny if you quote unquote blame the victim, right? Now, obviously, that can be defined in multiple different ways. Nobody's saying if a lassie walks home at night that she deserves to be fucking raped. Nobody's saying that. But in the context of quote unquote harassment, right? As you said yourself, if the guy is deemed attractive, it's not. If he's an ugly cunt, no offense to him, then it's deemed as harassment. But if she's posting photo after photo after photo in lingerie or her tits hanging out or whatever the case may be, and she gets some guy that she deems creepy constantly messaging her on Facebook, complimenting her and whatnot, like she's asking for it. Just because she doesn't find the guy in question attractive, that's not grounds to claim it's fucking harassment or whatever the case is. But that would be deemed as victim blaming, and misogyny. Yeah. If you're going to dress like that, you have to expect attention. The same principle would apply if you go out dressed like a dickhead. You're going to get people looking at you for all the real reasons. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I walked about with a fucking thong on, nothing else, people will be looking at me like, what's this guy on? Probably crack. And rightfully so, right? So the same principle applies if a lass walks about with her arse hanging out.
This is exactly it. I mean, there needs to be some sort of measure of reality.
We need to just go back to the way things were before we lived in a society where feminist narratives were allowed to run rampant. It's a fucking... I mean, they've even got stupid sayings now, like mental rape, because you stare you're mentally undressed. That's harassment.
That first came out as stir rape.
It's a joke. Tell me, though, that women don't look at your bulge when you're wearing fucking joggers. Was that stir rape? No, it's not.
No, it's not, because we've got two different sets of rules for men and women. Mm-hmm. Ask any bouncer, would they rather have a hen party or a stag party? Because they would rather have a stag party because it's less trouble.
Yeah, I've been at fucking a bar once where there was a hen party. I think they were just there before they went somewhere else, but two of the lassies there were being fucking overly flirtatious and borderline pushy with me and like one of the other guys that was there. We're going back to when I was like 18. Now, if the roles had been reversed there, that would have been grounds for the fucking police. But you can't do anything when you're a guy and these women. I mean, there wasn't anything wrong with them. They were all right looking, but they were just annoying. They were pissed and leaves alone. All over his life.
The girl that grabbed a guy's nuts at a football match and shouted to everybody, I don't know his name, but I'm going to fuck him later, and walked up the stairs and stuck her arse in his face. She got community service.
Fuck. If the roles are reversed, that guy would have got fucking charged.
Yep. She got charged, went to court, and got community service. He'd have been jailed.
I know. Double standards, eh? Reeks of equality.
Yep. The
Sensum's on OnlyFans right now. That's why he's all
yeah,
quiet.
he is.
No,
Samson-
I'm interacting with
Oh,
the
Eric.
loyal subjects in,
Well,
in the chat there. Because you were talking about that thing there. I dropped a little funny in there when you were talking about that woman with the Facebook page. And I put in the chat, she had a Facebook page like a decorator's radio.
Yep.
If you don't
DJ,
get that,
the
you're
D
not a real
stands
man.
for degenerate. How fucking dare you?
Well, you
I
started.
hold my
mate.
hands up. I was a wee bastard there. I went through a spell from about 14-year-old or 13. I can't remember how old I was. From then till I was about 16, and I was pretty disgraceful.
14-year-old.
Absolutely abhorrent behaviour.
That's
Yeah.
statutory rape for all them older women.
My
that
first
they had.
ever time. I didn't come home till like 2 a.m. and my mum had phoned the police because I was reported me missing because I had school in the morning and I was out shagging. So, you know, what
Right.
can you do?
Have we anything else that we need to get to tonight?
We haven't, no, mate. But like I say, if you want to draw a line under the old COVID thing, I've got
Because the
a
Royal
video
Rumble's
you
on there. I fucking missed the first hour. I just realised that.
What?
The Royal Rumble, why? I like wrestling. So what? We all have our fucking flaws.
No, I'll
Yep.
tell you what, old academic agent, he loves the wrestling, doesn't he? So you're in good
I don't
company
really give a
there,
shit,
mate.
to be honest.
Huh?
I don't really give a shit.
Well,
You know?
it's
Right.
it is what it is. But I've got a video.
I need
you can play us
academic
out with.
agent approval.
Yeah, you
Yep.
do actually. Yeah.
Right. So, we're going to wrap it up. Samson's got a video for the outro. Any last thoughts, DJ?
No. Good wee stream, like, you know? And now
What-
everybody knows that I was a little shit in my teenage years. But I suppose that puts the rumours to bed that the man that consistently accuses me of putting him in the jail, he's been saying on Twitter and whatnot that I'm a fat incel. Well, I hope that my words will kind of put that to bed, buddy. You know? Certainly not fucking fat. And last time I checked, I'm not an incel.
Oh. Right. Samson?
No, I've enjoyed this stream. It's been great laugh. There's been some really. I don't know if you guys have been watching the chat, but there's been some absolutely cracking lines in the chat tonight. So if you keep this stream up, 42, and you've not said no, there's not been in this stream that's Stu's
No,
bloody bothered
this
about.
is staying. I've seen it in the chat about taking it down. No, this is staying up.
Yeah, no, there's been no in this chat whatsoever. Yep. I've enjoyed it, mate. It's always a pleasure with yourself and DJ. I know we do a little bit of ribbing each other, but it's quite. I always enjoy these streams because they're very cathartic. Love them.
Whoa. What's up, Ragnar? DJ, are you fat again? What the fuck? I was never.
Do you know what it is,
fat.
DJ? I think people are getting you confused with me. You know what I mean?
Like DJ, it is 10 to 2 in the morning. Rags has no idea what the fuck he's typing.
I have never been fat. Too tall to be fat, for a start.
Yeah. No, Rags has no idea what he's typing at 10 to 2 in the morning. He's the wrong side of fucking...
guy that's been accusing me of putting him in the jail for the last fucking 2 weeks. The joys of alcohol and crack cocaine, but what can you do?
Yeah, Rags is the wrong side of a shitload of alcohol.
Right for fun.
Add the stream. I'm gonna put this up.
Yeah, this is mine. If anybody remembers during the middle of the lockdown, there was this really raggy bastard, northern English raggy bastard, and I did a little parody, which was an Odyssey original. So there's no copyrights or anything because it is one of mine. But I just thought it would be quite good to bookend the old COVID bullshit going on with that one.
Nee badger.
Shall I play it now then? Or
Yeah,
are you
aye,
gonna
welcome
sneak
away.
it back?
Welcome
All
away.
right, mate.
British fucking police! You fucking brain dead cunt! British fucking police! Fuck my life! Shut your fucking mouth! You fucking brain dead cunt! Shut your fucking mouth! British fucking police! Paid what, 20 grand a year to be a fucking knobhead? You're fucking pathetic! Look at the fucking state of this! Drop me fucking door! Shut your fucking mouth! You fucking brain dead cunt! Shut your fucking mouth! British fucking police! Right. Dickhead. Right. Dickhead. Right. Dickhead. Fucking idiots. Shut your fucking mouth. You fucking brain dead cunt. Shut your fucking mouth. British fucking police. What are you doing in the house? You fucking brain dead cunt. Look at the fucking state of this. Drop me fucking door. Paid what, 20 grand a year to be a fucking knobhead? Fucking idiots. Fuck my life.
I'll now chat with my mic unmuted. Samson's been Samson, DJ's been DJ. You lot in the chat have been fucking amazing as always. See you all next week. Good night, God bless. And I've been 42. We're out of here. Done.